Chapter 40-31. Little Qin Zi, you have to take full responsibility for this. The white-eyed wolf stared at Qin Feiyang. You can't blame Qin Feiyang for this. Long Chen shook his head. You can't blame him? The white-eyed wolf was stunned and asked suspiciously, then who is to blame? Even if Qin Feiyang opens the iron box and discovers this, he can't turn the situation around. It's very simple. Although the Scandinavia promised to give us 15 ultimate profundities, they did not specify which ultimate profundities they were. Of course. We can't deny that their actions are somewhat unethical. However, they have fulfilled their promise. Although they are all ultimate profound meanings of the law of death, there are indeed 15 of them. Therefore, we can't say that they cheated. Long Chen explained. Everyone nodded after hearing this. Indeed. Qin Feiyang wasn't the only one who was careless. They were careless as well. They didn't make it clear in advance and allowed the other party to take advantage of the loophole. Then what should we do now? The white-eyed wolf looked at Long Chen, his face full of unwillingness. The inheritance of 15 ultimate profound meanings was right in front of them, but it was worthless. It was really driving them crazy. I don't know either. Long Chen shook his head. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang again. What else can we do? After all, it's the inheritance of the strongest ultimate profound meanings of the law. We can't just throw it away. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and sighed. Since we can't use it, let's give it to those who need it. Although they had all mastered the ultimate profound meaning of the law of death, the people around them hadn't, such as the mermaid princess, Fire Lotus, Zhuo Shaoxian, Pei Tianhong, the demon ancestor, and so on. It was worthless to them, but it was undoubtedly a great fortune for these people. 15 ultimate profound meanings of the 15 ultimate profound meanings of the law of death. It was a good harvest. That's the only way. The white-eyed wolf sighed helplessly. Now that he had mastered the 4 ultimate profound meanings, he was only missing the Destruction Edict and the Life Edict. He had been counting on this opportunity, but he didn't expect to be tricked by the Divine Kingdom. Long Chen looked at the disappointed white-eyed wolf, then turned to Long Chen and whispered, "Brother, look at how pitiful they are. Why don't we help them?" Although his voice was very soft, everyone present heard him. Immediately, everyone turned to look at the pair of siblings. Help? Long Chen was also stunned. He asked suspiciously, "How?" Long Chen said confidently, "We definitely can't help, but Father can." Ugh! Long Chen was stunned. Qin Feiyang and the others also looked at each other. Ask the Ice Dragon for help? Was that even possible? Ice Dragon wasn't that kind-hearted. Don't count on it. Long Chen looked at Long Chen and continued, "I know it's impossible to ask Father to give them the inheritance, but we can exchange." Exchange? Long Chen was stunned and suddenly became interested. He said, "Say it more clearly. Aren't there 15 inheritances of the Death Edict here? Let's take these 15 inheritances to Father and exchange them for the Edict inheritance they need. I don't think Father will refuse such a small matter." Long Chen smiled. Good idea. Hearing that, Long Chen's eyes lit up, and he immediately clapped his hands and cheered. This time, it was because Father and the others came forward that we were able to get these 15 inheritances. And now, the Divine Kingdom is playing us like this, which is equivalent to disrespecting Father and the others. As long as we tell them the truth, they will definitely be furious. By then, we don't even need to waste our breath and they will agree. Long Chen smiled. Long Chen raised his head, rubbed Long Chen's head, and said with a smile, "You're quite smart this time." When am I not smart? Long Chen was dissatisfied. Yes, yes, yes. Long Chen nodded repeatedly, and his face was full of doting. But then, he frowned. What's wrong? Long Chen was puzzled. The idea is good, but how do we contact Father? Long Chen frowned. Isn't that simple? Although we can't contact him, Mother can. Long Qin said. Mother? Long Chen heard that, glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others, and said telepathically, with Mother's character, if she knows that it's because Qin Feiyang and the others need Father's help, she definitely won't help. So we can't let Mother know. We'll say that we miss Father and ask her to help us contact him. Long Qin smiled, and a sly look flashed in his eyes. Long Chen was stunned, and the look in his eyes became very strange. What's wrong? Long Qin looked at him in confusion. You're lying to Mother. Qin, you've never done this in the past, and it's for Qin Feiyang and the others. Long Chen said to himself. Is that so? Long Qin looked flustered and said with a smile, don't misunderstand, I just feel sorry for them. Is that so? Long Chen looked at him with a faint smile. Yes. What else do you think? Let's talk about it later. If they become stronger, we'll be able to relax a lot, right? Long Qin said. Long Chen shook his head and smiled. He rubbed Long Qin's head again, and his face was full of relief. Perhaps even Long Qin herself didn't realize that she was gradually changing. What are you doing? I'm not a kitten, why do you keep rubbing my head? Long Qin slapped Long Chen's hand away and glared at him angrily. Long Chen laughed heartily and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. If you trust me, give me these 15 inheritances first. I'll try to find Father and see if I can exchange them for the laws you need. You're treating me like an outsider. What's our relationship? How can I not trust you? Madman laughed, quickly closed the iron box, and pushed it all in front of Long Chen. Yes, yes, yes. We're all comrades who have gone through life and death together. If we don't even have the basic trust, are we still human? White-eyed Wolf also nodded repeatedly. If it really worked, it would be a great help to them. I've never seen people turn hostile faster than you. Long Qin looked at him with disdain. Don't talk nonsense. When did we turn hostile? We've always treated you and your sister as companions. White-eyed Wolf waved his hand and said unhappily. Long Qin's mouth kept twitching. His skin was so thick that no one could compare to him. Long Chen's face was also full of a helpless smile. All right then, Qin and I will go back first. As for the matter of the king, we'll talk about it slowly after this matter is settled. If it really works, when we go to the Divine Kingdom in the future, I'll be the first to rush to the front. White-eyed Wolf patted his chest. All right. Don't be so excited. Whether it works or not is another matter. Long Chen looked at White-eyed Wolf speechlessly and was about to leave when he suddenly paused and looked at everyone. When the time comes, how do you plan to distribute these 15 inheritances? What inheritances do you need? Tell me first. If Father agrees, I can tell him directly. I don't need to say anything. The law of destruction and the law of life. White-eyed Wolf was the first to speak. However, Frenzied was in a dilemma. Yun Xiang, demon ancestor, and the others lowered their heads and remained silent. Why are you so impatient? Qin Feiyang stared at White-eyed Wolf, then looked at demon ancestor and the others. Everyone who participated in this battle should have a share. White-eyed Wolf looked up at Qin Feiyang. If everyone had a share, how many experts who could fuse with the will of the Great Path could be created? Mu Tianyang and Dong Xingyang looked at each other with a trace of disappointment in their hearts. If only those who participated in the battle had a share, then the two of them definitely had no hope. Long Chen pondered for a moment, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Brother Qin, regarding what you said, I hold an objection this time. Qin Feiyang looked at Long Chen suspiciously. Although everyone has gone through life and death together and fought side by side this time, the current situation does not allow us to do so. We must pick out a few of the strongest people and let them grasp the ultimate mysteries of the 6 strongest laws and activate the will of the Great Path. Long Chen explained. I also agree. Since you, Qin Feiyang, can deal with the monarch, we can temporarily not consider it. As for the two overlords, the divine king and the human race's Jizun, someone must restrain or even suppress them. Long Qin nodded. Who can suppress them? Zhuo Shaoxian asked. Let's talk about the divine king first. Apart from Qin Feiyang, there is only one person who can contend with the divine king's god race mark. Long Chen looked at everyone and said with a smile, I don't need to say more about this person. Everyone looked at Frenzied at the same time. That's right. Only Frenzied's origin of all evil could compete with the divine king's god race mark. Even Long Chen's god's domain could not. Long Chen said, so, Frenzied must integrate with the will of the Great Path as soon as possible. I believe no one has any objections. No. Everyone shook their heads. Then let's talk about the golden-winged wolf king. Everyone knows about his battle soul. As long as he is given time, he can even take away the monarch's cultivation, laws, and battle soul. So, he must integrate with the will of the Great Path as well. Long Chen said again. At least you have some eyesight and know how powerful this brother is. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Long Chen shook his head and smiled, then looked at the demon ancestor. Why are you looking at me? I don't even have an ultimate mystery of the strongest law. The demon ancestor smiled bitterly. That's not important. What's important is that your eye of despair has evolved. At the beginning of the battle, if it wasn't for your eye of despair, we would all be finished. So, you must integrate with the will of the Great Path as soon as possible. However, you need too many inheritances. This will undoubtedly affect the interests of others. So, you have to get everyone's agreement. After Long Chen said that, he looked at Yun Xiang, the masked Shura, Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Frenzied. It doesn't matter. The white-eyed wolf shrugged his shoulders. Anyway, he didn't need many inheritances, just 2. He could distribute the rest as he pleased. Moreover, the current demon ancestor was reassuring. The power of the Eye of Despair is obvious to all. If the demon ancestor also had the ultimate mystery of the strongest law when he fought with Ryuko and the others, then it might have been a different outcome. So, I have no objections. Yun Xiang said. No. The masked Shura shook his head. Qin Feiyang and Frenzied looked at each other and smiled faintly, representing their attitude. Chapter 40-32. If there are no objections, then it's decided. The demon ancestor needs 6 inheritances, the golden-winged wolf king needs 2 inheritances, and the frenzied one needs 3 inheritances. That's a total of 11 inheritances, and there are 4 inheritances left. As for the remaining 4 inheritances, I suggest that we give them to Li Feng. After Long Chen finished speaking, he looked around and observed the changes in everyone's expression. Everyone seemed to be very surprised by his suggestion. Li Feng already has 1 ultimate law, and he's still short of 5. Even if we give him all 4 inheritances, he won't be able to grasp the will of the heavens. So I think it's better to give them to Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang already has 4 ultimate laws, and he's only short of 2. If we give them to him, he'll still have 2 more. Dong Zhengyang said. Long Chen smiled and said, so I've decided that I'll personally give Li Feng an inheritance for free. This way, he'll be able to grasp the will of the heavens. Of course, this way, Yun Xiang won't be able to get even a single inheritance. This seems a little unfair to him. Long Chen had his own selfish reasons for doing this. He wanted to use this opportunity to completely undo the knot in Li Feng's heart. I don't mind. And in terms of strength, Li Feng is indeed above me. Because his puppet true body can increase his battle strength by several times. When he integrates with the will of the heavens, I think it won't be a problem for him to deal with the human race's sovereign. Yun Xiang pondered for a moment and smiled. Thank you. Long Chen stood up and bowed. Yun Xiang waved his hand and smiled, although it doesn't matter to me, senior brother and Li Zhongxing's group also put their lives on the line in this battle. We can't forget their contributions. Don't mention me. As far as I'm concerned, I'm already very satisfied with just one ultimate law. The Master de Jura said. Don't worry about old Li and the others. I will comfort them. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then, he looked at Long Chen and his sister and said, you two didn't even leave an inheritance for yourselves. Instead, you gave one to Li Feng for free. You even helped him find your father to exchange for the inheritance. How should we repay you in the future? Aren't you the same? From the beginning to the end, he didn't ask for any inheritance. Long Chen smiled faintly. Me? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. I already have the life and death law's ultimate profundities, and I also have the will of the heavenly Tao. It would be a waste to have them. Waste? That's a pretty good excuse of yours. Long Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. This was the first time he had heard that merging inheritances was a waste. After chatting for a while, he stood up and said with a smile, all right, I'll go back first. All right, all right, all right. I'm waiting for your good news. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand. The greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. So, let's just be normal. Long Chen smiled and looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Long Chen and his sister disappeared. Do you think Ice Dragon will agree? The frenzied one asked nervously. If he doesn't agree, I'll pluck his hair. The white-eyed wolf snorted. Ah! Everyone was stunned. If you really had the ability, why would you sit here and wait for the news? You would have taken the initiative to find Ice Dragon. As Long Chen said, let's just be normal. Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to Yun Xiang and the Master de Jura. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely help you. What are you talking about? Yun Xiang waved his hand and said with a smirk, actually, by agreeing to Long Chen, we've profited. Profited? The frenzied one was stunned. That's right. He gave the inheritance to Li Feng because he felt guilty. If it was me, he wouldn't have given out an inheritance for free. Although I didn't get anything personally, from the collective benefits, we've earned an extra inheritance. Yun Xiang smirked. That makes sense. The frenzied one nodded and grinned. But I still admire you and you, Azura. However, the Master de Jura only smiled coldly. Mu Tianyang looked at the demon ancestor with jealousy and said, you've really profited this time. It's all thanks to everyone's care. The demon ancestor chuckled. Who wouldn't be happy to receive 6 inheritances at once? Mu Tianyang pursed his lips and raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang. When our battle souls evolve in the future, you can't favor one and discriminate against the other. Qin Feiyang was stunned and shook his head. This depends on luck because we won't be so lucky every time. Too fake. Mu Tianyang looked at him with disdain. He was envious of the demon ancestor. He had obtained the inheritance of 6 ultimate laws and reached the heavens in one step. Dong Zhengyang took a sip of tea and rolled his eyes. Look at how envious you are. Wait until Ice Dragon agrees, then you can be envious. Heard about it. Mu Tianyang was slightly stunned and nodded. True, Ice Dragon hasn't agreed yet. Qin Feiyang looked at everyone and then at the mermaid princess. He whispered, accompany me to find Li Zhongsheng and the others. Okay. The mermaid princess nodded. You guys chat. After Qin Feiyang said this, he pulled the mermaid princess and turned to walk towards a courtyard. After they left the tea garden, he asked, you won't blame me, right? Blame you? The mermaid princess looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, are you talking to me? Is there anyone else here? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. I don't think so. The mermaid princess looked around and shook her head. She said suspiciously, I don't understand. Why should I blame you? You didn't do anything to let me down. 15 inheritances. I gave them all. I didn't give you any. I really feel that I've let you down. Qin Feiyang sighed. So this is what you're talking about. Don't think so much. You have your own considerations. Moreover, Long Chen's suggestion is perfect. As for me, I've never thought about that. My biggest wish is that every time you go out to fight, you can return to my side safely. That's enough. The mermaid princess smiled gently. Qin Feiyang stopped and turned to look at the mermaid princess. Finally, he hugged her affectionately and said with a smile, being able to marry you is the luckiest thing in my life. The mermaid princess was stunned for a moment. Then, a sweet smile appeared on her face. Thank you. Qin Feiyang said silently in his heart. Then, he pulled the mermaid princess and continued to walk toward the courtyard of Li Zhongsheng and the other two. Have you noticed that Long Qin is a little different now? The mermaid princess suddenly asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. It seems that the mediation of the demon ancestor worked. I really hope that you can maintain such a relationship in the future. The mermaid princess smiled. We will. Qin Feiyang nodded. Dragon's Nest. Long Chen walked toward Long Zun's attic and said with a smile, Qin, you have to cooperate with me later. Why should I cooperate with you? Long Qin snorted coldly. So this is your idea? Long Chen said. I'm only in charge of digging holes, not burying them. Long Qin raised her head proudly. Seeing this, Long Chen could not help but laugh. Soon, the brother and sister came to the attic and saw Long Zun sitting on the balcony on the second floor. Ling Long was carefully serving her beside her. Mother, Long Qin shouted and ran to the balcony. Long Chen also had a smile on his face as he landed opposite Long Zun. Long Zun's face was extremely calm when she saw that the brother and sister had returned safely. Long Qin looked at Long Zun and said unhappily, Mother, you're too calm. Aren't you afraid that we'll die in the Western continent? Long Zun looked up at Long Qin and shook her head with a smile. We're not dead yet, are we? Long Qin was stunned. She was not worried about her at all. Was she really adopted? You've misunderstood Master Long Zun. Actually, she was very worried about you, especially when you were fighting with the Divine Kingdom. She had been praying in her heart. But not long ago, we received news that you won a great victory and that the people of the Divine Kingdom had left, so she was relieved. Ling Long said with a smile. You talk too much. Long Zun glared at her. Ling Long giggled and even made a face. She was no longer afraid of Long Zun. I see. News spread really fast. Long Qin suddenly realized. He walked up to Long Zun and said with a smile, I knew it. You didn't adopt me. Adopt me? What do you mean? Long Zun looked at Long Qin in a daze. Ahem. Long Chen coughed and quickly changed the topic. Mother, did father come to look for you? No. Long Zun's face suddenly turned cold. She looked up at the brother and sister and said angrily, and you too, don't laugh at me. The brother and sister looked at Long Zun in shock. What was going on? You two are amazing. You actually risked your life to protect Qin Feiyang. It seems that you have forgotten how he slaughtered our dragons back then. Long Zun said angrily. You know about this too? Long Qin looked surprised. This matter is no longer a secret. It has spread throughout the sky cloud realm. And Qin Feiyang comprehended the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death and defeated the monarch. Everyone knows about it. Ling Long said. Long Qin turned to look at Long Chen. It should be the news that Feather Emperor and the others spread. Long Chen smiled bitterly. Then, is this true or not? Long Zun looked at the two with a face full of anger. Long Qin didn't dare to speak. Long Chen didn't have any fear. She nodded and said, It's true. Bastard. Long Zun slammed her palm on the tea table, shattering it on the spot. Although the Eastern Continent, Southern Continent, and Northern Continent were discussing this matter, she still had a trace of hope that it might just be rumors. So, she had been suppressing the anger in her heart. But she never thought that it would be true. So, her anger erupted. Mother, I know you hate Qin Feiyang and the others, but now that we are facing the Divine Kingdom, we can't do without them. Take this time for example. If Qin Feiyang hadn't comprehended the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, no one would have been able to defeat the monarch. Long Chen hurriedly explained. But you are not allowed to help him. You still want to risk your lives for him? Are your lives so worthless? Long Zun shouted angrily. Mother, don't you understand? I am not helping him. I am helping the Sky Cloud Realm and the billions of living beings in the Sky Cloud Realm. Long Chen sighed. How could she eliminate the hatred in her mother's heart? Chapter 40-33. Yes, Mother. If we don't help Qin Feiyang, then Qin Feiyang and the others will die. Long Qin also plucked up the courage to argue with Longzuan. But before she finished, Longzuan was burning with anger and shouted, "What does their death have to do with you?" Of course it does. If they die, do you think the Divine Kingdom will let us go? In the current situation, no matter how deep the hatred is, we have to let go. Long Qin sighed. Damn girl, you're all grown up, aren't you? You even dare to talk back to me. Longzuan's face darkened, and he glared at Long Qin. Why did he feel that this daughter was a little different from before? Because in the past, when facing Qin Feiyang and the others, Long Qin stood with her, but this time she stood with Long Chen. I didn't. Long Qin lowered her head. She couldn't go back on her words. Before the battle with Li Feng, they had already agreed. If she defeated Li Feng, the grudge would be written off. If Li Feng defeated her, then she would kneel down and apologize to Li Feng on behalf of her mother. In the end, she was the winner. Naturally, the grudge would be written off. In fact, what really made her let go of her hatred was Long Chen's kneeling. Long Chen's kneeling made her feel deeply. They had already agreed that as long as she won this battle, no matter how unwilling Li Feng was, he could only give up. In other words, Long Chen's kneeling was completely unnecessary. But in the end, Long Chen still knelt down and apologized. This was enough to show his inner thoughts and persistence. It was also because of Long Chen's persistence that Long Qin chose to let go of her hatred. No? Then why are you still speaking for your brother? Longzuan said angrily. Your daughter is being reasonable. Long Qin lowered her head and muttered. According to you, I'm unreasonable. Longzuan was very angry. No. Long Qin quickly waved his hand and looked at Long Chen for help. After letting go of her hatred, she finally felt the same way. Every time they talked about Qin Feiyang and the others, Big Brother was under a lot of pressure. But this pressure was not brought by Qin Feiyang, but by his mother. Long Chen pondered for a while and said helplessly, Mother, things have already turned out this way. It's useless to blame us. Why don't you let it go? You'll feel better. I'm in a bad mood. Longzuan coldly snorted. Then what should I do to make you feel better? Do you want to beat me up? Long Chen looked at Linglong and said, Go and find a stick. As long as it can appease my mother, she can beat me however she wants. Linglong looked at Long Chen and his sister, then at Long Zun with an anxious expression. She really wanted to persuade Long Zun. That was because she did not feel any hatred toward Qin Feiyang. On the contrary, there was a trace of gratitude. Because back then in the Tianzhong Divine Treasure, Qin Feiyang didn't make things difficult for her father. He also didn't take away the sovereign divine weapon of the Silver Dragon clan. However, she wasn't Long Chen, nor was she Long Qin. She didn't have the guts to speak to Long Zun. You think I don't dare to beat you? Long Zun looked at Long Chen. It's natural for a mother to beat her son. Long Chen smiled. Long Zun was furious and shouted, Linglong, didn't you hear? Go. Okay. Linglong nodded and quickly turned to run down to the attic below. In the end, she only found a small tree branch after searching for a long time. Looking at the small tree branch that was not even as thick as a little finger, Long Zun's face suddenly darkened. He glared at Linglong angrily. Are you deliberately angering me? I'm not. Linglong hurriedly shook her head. Long Chen and Long Qin couldn't help but secretly laugh when they saw this scene. This small tree branch was more like used to drive away mosquitoes. Looking at the innocent Linglong and Long Chen and his sister who were snickering next to her, Long Zun was so angry that he almost went crazy. He waved his hand and said, Get out, don't let me see it. It's annoying. Thank you for your forgiveness, Mother. I knew it. Mother is the most understanding. Long Qin ran up and hugged Long Zun's arm with a mischievous smile on his face. Seeing this, Long Zun felt helpless. Linglong asked carefully, Lord Long Zun, where is this stick? Do you call this a stick? Long Zun glared at her angrily. Linglong laughed dryly and immediately threw the small tree branch down from the balcony. Alas! Long Zun sighed and looked at Long Chen and his sister. I hope you don't forget that we have a feud with Qin Feiyang. Mother, hearing this. Long Qin immediately wanted to say something. But he was stopped by Long Chen in time. At this time, they couldn't mention reconciliation. Otherwise, not to mention helping to contact their father, they would probably be driven away on the spot. Go, I want to rest alone. Long Zun waved his hand. Long Qin didn't let go. Long Chen didn't move either. What? Do you really want to be beaten? Long Zun looked at the brother and sister. No. We miss our father a little, so we want to see him. Long Qin shook his head. Miss him? Long Zun raised his eyebrows and said angrily, He doesn't even come to see you. What else is there to miss? Mother, we are his children. Isn't it normal for children to miss their father? Please help to contact him, I beg you. Long Qin used his unique skill, acting like a spoiled child. Long Zun looked at Long Qin and Long Chen, his face full of anger. What a heartless white-eyed wolf. I worked so hard to bring you up, but I didn't see you say you miss me. Yes, yes, yes. Every mother is the greatest person in the world. Long Qin nodded. Damn girl, you only know how to pick up nice words. Long Zun rolled his eyes and said, But let's make a deal. When you contact him later, you can talk to them. I don't want to see him. Long Qin and Long Chen looked at each other. Wasn't this what they wanted? They had been thinking about how to send their mother away when they contacted their father. Because if Long Zun was here, they couldn't say anything. Previously, when they helped Qin Feiyang to pass the tribulation, Long Zun was already furious. If Long Zun knew that they were looking for their father to help Qin Feiyang and the others exchange for the law inheritance, wouldn't she fall out with them on the spot? Falling out with them was still a light matter. She might even sever their relationship as mother and daughter in a fit of anger. But they didn't expect Long Zun to take the initiative to mention it. This saved them a lot of trouble. However, they still had to put on an act. Long Qin asked, Mother, do you dislike father that much? Although it was just an act, it was what she really wanted to ask. Long Zun glared at her and didn't answer. She took out the divine sound transmission stone and said, If he isn't in the sky cloud realm now, then I can't contact him, so don't have too much hope. Okay. The brother and sister nodded. They thought. It hadn't been long since the end of the battle. He should still be in the sky cloud realm. With the recovery of the divine sound transmission stone, rays of divine light bloomed. The brother and sister both looked at the divine sound transmission stone nervously and expectantly. Long Zun didn't suspect anything. She only thought that they were nervous and expectant before seeing their father. But she didn't know that the brother and sister were nervous and expectant about exchanging the inheritance. Time passed breath by breath. After a while, Ice Dragon didn't respond. Could it be that he has already left the Sky Cloud realm? The brother and sister suddenly became a little flustered. If he had really left the Sky Cloud realm, then how could they exchange for the inheritance if they couldn't contact him? Long Zun also frowned and scolded, "I've never seen such an irresponsible man." Then she looked at the Longchen siblings and sighed, "As you can see, we can't contact him." The brother and sister were helpless. But just as Long Zun was about to turn off the divine sound transmission stone, a figure quickly appeared. Who else could it be but Ice Dragon? "What's wrong?" Ice Dragon looked at Long Zun and asked. His expression wasn't cold, but there was also no gentleness between husband and wife. It was as if he was looking at a familiar stranger. "I'm not looking for you." Long Zun coldly snorted and handed the divine sound transmission stone to Long Chen. Long Chen quickly caught it. Long Zun looked at Ice Dragon and said, "Ling Long, accompany me for a walk." "Okay." Ling Long nodded and followed Long Zun downstairs and walked along the stream. "What do you want, kid?" Ice Dragon looked at Long Chen suspiciously. "Me too." Long Qin ran to Long Chen's side. "Qin." Ice Dragon was stunned and looked even more puzzled. Didn't they just meet in the Western continent? Why did he contact him again? Wait a moment. Long Chen waved his hand. After Ling Long and Long Zun were far away, he looked at Ice Dragon and said, "Father, long story short, we have something that we need your help with." "So you were deliberately waiting for your mother to leave?" Ice Dragon nodded and asked, "What you want to talk about is related to Qin Feiyang and the others, right?" "How did you know?" Long Qin was surprised. "Otherwise, why did you wait until your mother left before you dared to talk about it?" Ice Dragon said. "Father is smart." Long Qin smiled. Ice Dragon shook his head helplessly and said with a smile, "Tell me, what is it?" "It's like this." Long Chen briefly explained that the Divine Kingdom had given them 15 ultimate inheritances of the Law of Death. "What? All of them are ultimate inheritances of the Law of Death?" Ice Dragon was stunned. "Yes." Long Qin nodded and snorted, "Don't you think they are abominable? They are indeed a little unethical. However, there's no way to settle the score with them. After all, they did give you 15 ultimate inheritances of the Law of Death." Ice Dragon frowned. "It's definitely impossible to settle the score with them. Therefore, we would like to ask for your help. You must have a lot of inheritances in your hands. Otherwise, you wouldn't have given my mother so many back then. Therefore, we want to ask if we can use these 15 inheritances to exchange with you." Long Chen asked with a smile, his expression full of anticipation. "Exchange?" Ice Dragon was stunned. "In other words, we will use our 15 inheritances to exchange for other inheritances that everyone needs. In this way, we will be able to create several experts who can activate the will of heaven." Long Chen explained. "There's no need to explain so clearly. I know what you mean. However, I am a little puzzled. Why would you help them to such an extent?" "Long Chen, you brat. Let's not talk about this first. I know your character. It's not surprising that you would do this. However, little girl, I don't understand you. All this time, haven't you always hated them? Especially Qin Feiyang, Golden Wing Wolf King, and Lunatic. Every time you mention them, you would gnash your teeth in hatred. Why would you help them now?" Ice Dragon looked at Long Qin from head to toe. Could it be that this daughter of his had been possessed? Chapter 40-34. Father, stop your imagination. Looking at Ice Dragon's eyes, one could tell that he must be imagining things. Ice Dragon chuckled, looked at the siblings, and said, "I don't have a nomological inheritance now, but with your father's ability, it's only a matter of minutes for me to find a dozen nomological inheritances. However, you have to give me a reason to convince me." The siblings were overjoyed. Long Chen smiled. "Father, to be honest, Qin was the one who suggested it first." "Huh?" Ice Dragon looked at Long Qin in surprise again. "Is she really his daughter? Why does she look more and more different? There's something you don't know. After you left, Qin and Li Feng had a fight." Long Chen quickly explained the situation at that time. "I see." Ice Dragon suddenly understood and looked at Long Qin with a smile. "Have you really let it go?" Long Qin pondered for a while and nodded. "Yes, Big Brother was right. Life is long, there's no need to be trapped in the past." "I'm glad that you think so." Ice Dragon nodded with a smile, then sighed. "How good would it be if your mother could think so?" "Then I'm afraid it's a little difficult." Long Chen shook his head. "You have to face it even if it's difficult. Because it's your responsibility as children. Since Qin suggested it, I naturally can't refuse, because I can't let Qin Feiyang and the others see my daughter as a joke." Ice Dragon chuckled. "Really?" Long Qin looked at Ice Dragon in disbelief. He thought it would take a lot of persuasion, but he didn't expect him to agree so easily. "Yes." Ice Dragon nodded. "Thank you, Father." Long Qin was overjoyed. Long Chen was the same. He didn't expect it to go so smoothly. Of course. It's not that easy for them to get the law inheritance. Ice Dragon's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule. "What do you mean?" The siblings were stunned. "Don't worry, you'll know later. Tell me, what kind of inheritance do they need?" Ice Dragon gave an enigmatic smile. Long Chen nodded and said, "The golden-winged wolf king wants the inheritance of the laws of destruction and the laws of life." After Long Chen finished speaking, Ice Dragon nodded and said, "No problem." Long Chen asked, "Where should we meet later?" "Let's do it where we're talking. I'll look for you guys later." After the Ice Dragon finished speaking, the shadow quickly disappeared. Long Qin turned to Long Chen and asked, "Brother, what does father mean?" "How would I know?" Long Chen smiled bitterly. But what was certain was that it was definitely not a good thing. Immediately after, the two of them went downstairs and followed the stream to find Long Zun and Ling Long. "Are you done?" Long Zun glanced at the two. "Yes." Long Chen nodded and handed the divine sound transmission stone to Long Zun. Long Zun took the divine sound transmission stone and pondered for a moment before asking, "Did he mention me?" The brother and sister looked at each other and nodded, "Yes." "Don't lie to me. I watched you guys grow up. I know what you guys are thinking with just a look." Long Zun glared at the two of them and lowered her head to look at the stream. Her eyes were filled with anger. Not to mention their relationship, they weren't even willing to mention it. What kind of husband and wife were they? Sigh. Long Chen sighed and looked at Long Zun. "Mother, give me the inheritance of the ultimate profound meaning of the laws of time." "You want the inheritance?" Long Zun was stunned. "Yes." Long Chen nodded. Actually, he wanted it for Li Feng. However, if he said it out loud, Long Zun would definitely not give it to him, so he could only pretend that he wanted it for himself. "Didn't you not want to fuse with the inheritance?" Long Zun was suspicious. "The situation is different now. The strength of the divine kingdom is too strong. If I rely on myself to comprehend it, I don't know how long it will take." Long Chen shook his head and sighed. "You should have thought like that long ago. Otherwise, you would have already mastered 6 ultimate profound meanings now." Long Zun was very pleased. She immediately took out an inheritance and handed it to Long Chen. After thinking for a while, she said, "Why don't I give it all to you now?" "Not for now. I will ask you for it after I fuse with it." Long Chen took the inheritance and smiled. "All right. I am really worried about leaving it with you." What if one day you become a good person and give it to Qin Feiyang and the others? Long Zun nodded. Cough cough. Long Chen suddenly coughed dryly. What's wrong? Long Zun looked at him suspiciously. Nothing. It's just that my throat is a little uncomfortable. Long Chen hurriedly waved his hand guiltily. He looked at Long Qin and said, Qin, let's go. Okay. Long Qin nodded. Where are you going? Long Zun quickly asked. To take a look at the situation in the eastern, northern, and southern continents. Long Chen said without looking back. Then, he quickly left with Long Qin. That scared me to death. I almost exposed myself. Long Qin patted her towering chest. Yes. I also didn't expect Mother to suddenly say such a thing. Long Chen shook his head and smiled bitterly. In front of the stream. Long Zun looked at the backs of the siblings and said, Ling Long, do you feel that they are hiding something from me? Is there? Ling Long was stunned. She shook her head and said, I don't think so. Sir, don't think so much. They are not young anymore. They have their own judgment. You don't understand. I am afraid that they will be taken advantage of. Because I know Qin Feiyang and the others too well. None of them are easy to deal with. When the time comes and we sell the two of them, we might have to help count the money. Long Zun shook his head. He was very worried. Ling Long's eyes flashed slightly. She smiled and said, Qin Feiyang is very shrewd, but young Master Long Chen is not bad either. It won't happen. I hope so. Long Zun nodded. He looked at Ling Long and said, Since you have already announced to Madman and the others that you are my adopted daughter, then you will truly be my adopted daughter from now on. Ah. Ling Long looked at Long Zun in astonishment. After spending some time together, I found that you are indeed a good child. Long Zun smiled. Seeing that Ling Long was silent, he asked, Why? Are you unwilling? I am willing. Ling Long came back to her senses and immediately knelt on the ground. She said respectfully, Ling Long greets sir, Long Zun raised his eyebrows. No. Ling Long quickly corrected herself. Ling Long greets mother. Hearing this, Long Zun's brows immediately relaxed. He smiled and said, Don't call Chen, and Qin, young master and young mistress anymore. Just call them brother and sister. Okay. Ling Long nodded. Since we are already a family, then you have to help me keep an eye on the two of them in the future. If they do anything out of line, you must tell me immediately. Long Zun instructed. Okay. Ling Long replied respectfully. Western continent. In less than half an hour. Ice Dragon appeared. Long Chen and his sister immediately went up to greet him. What about the 15 inheritances? Ice Dragon asked. Long Chen waved his hand, and 15 iron boxes appeared. Ice Dragon said in surprise, Qin Feiyang and the others are actually assured to give you 15 ultimate inheritances? Our trust in each other now is beyond your imagination. Long Chen chuckled. This is not bad. Ice Dragon nodded. He was very clear about the foundation of the Divine Kingdom. If the Sky Cloud Realm did not unite, they would not be able to fight against them. Father, what about the inheritances we need? Long Qin asked a little anxiously. Ice Dragon turned his head to look at Long Qin and suddenly asked a question that caught Long Qin off guard. Did you meet someone you like? Huh? Long Qin looked at Ice Dragon. What is this? If you didn't meet someone you like, would you help them like this? Ice Dragon chuckled. The corner of Long Qin's mouth twitched. Sure enough, his imagination is amazing. If you meet someone you like, you must treat them sincerely. Ice Dragon stretched out his hand and rubbed Long Qin's head. Then, with a wave of his hand, 15 iron boxes appeared. The iron boxes were not opened, but one could clearly feel the aura of the laws. There was the destruction law, the life law, the death law, and so on. Don't we have the death law here? Why did you give us the death law? Long Chen was suspicious. Both Ancestor Mo and Li Feng needed an ultimate meaning of the death law, so they only needed to exchange for 13 inheritances. But now, Ice Dragon took out 15 iron boxes. Was he planning to give them 2 as a gift? It's different. Ice Dragon shook his head and smiled. Long Chen and Long Qin looked at each other. Aren't they all inheritances? What's different about them? Ice Dragon God smiled secretly and said, "Open the iron boxes and take a look." Long Chen grabbed an iron box that contained the Death Law inheritance and opened the lid, but found that the lid was unmoved. What's going on? Immediately, he couldn't help but be stunned. He used more strength, but found that the iron box still couldn't be opened. Ice Dragon smiled but didn't say anything. Seeing this, Long Qin couldn't help but try. He used all his strength, but the iron box still couldn't be opened. Father, you, the brother and sister looked at Ice Dragon in shock. There's a seal on it. If you want to get the inheritance inside, you must first unlock the seal on it. Ice Dragon said. Seal? The brother and sister were stunned. They released their divine sense and shrouded the iron box. Sure enough, they found a layer of seal. Then, they looked at the other 14 iron boxes. Every iron box had a seal. Father, what does this mean? Long Chen retracted his divine sense and asked suspiciously. It's very simple. If they want to get the inheritance, they must first unlock the seal. And the way to unlock the seal is to kill the heavens chosen of the divine kingdom. Ice Dragon said. Kill the heavens chosen of the divine kingdom? The brother and sister exchanged glances. That's right. You'll be in charge of supervising them. Every time they kill a heavens chosen, help them unlock the seal on a box. And the only way to unlock the seal is to use your blood essence. Ice Dragon smiled. This, Long Chen's mouth twitched. He smiled bitterly and said, Isn't this a bit unfair? Who says it's unfair? I agree with Father's approach. After all, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Long Qin nodded, his expression showing a bit of excitement. Long Chen was speechless. He said it so righteously, thinking that everyone didn't know. He just wanted to use this opportunity to torture White-Eyed Wolf and the others. Qin is right. There's no such thing as a free lunch. If you want to get benefits, you must rely on your own efforts. Besides, killing the heavens chosen of the divine kingdom is also training them. Ice Dragon smiled faintly. Chapter 40-35. Yes, yes, yes. Long Qin nodded and looked at Long Chen with a threatening look in his eyes. Father has given a lot of thought. You can't go against him. Long Chen smiled bitterly. Long Qin looked at Long Chen and said, Also, you can't help them break the seal in private. Otherwise, I'll ask Father to take back these inheritances. That's for sure. You can't hide it. And the heaven's pride that you kill must be a monster like Jiang Yunshuang. You can't just make up the numbers. You have to kill them completely. One more thing. You can't help others. You have to do it with your own strength. Ice Dragon said. By killing them completely, he meant that they had to be completely killed. They couldn't leave behind a soul that would jump out after a period of time. Okay. I'll listen to you. The father and daughter echoed each other, making Long Chen feel powerless. Then, he put away the 15 iron boxes and took out the divine sound transmission stone. Father, let's establish a contract bridge so that we don't have to get Mother's permission every time we look for you. If I'm not in the sky cloud realm, you can't contact me. There's no need for that. Ice Dragon said. What if you're in the sky cloud realm? Long Chen asked. Ice Dragon pondered for a while and nodded. Okay, as father and daughter, it's a bit of a joke if we don't establish a contract bridge. Then, he took out the divine sound transmission stone. After establishing the contract bridge, Ice Dragon pondered for a while and took out 2 palm-sized white tokens. He then refined 2 drops of blood essence and fused them with the tokens. Then, he handed the 2 tokens to the brother and sister and said with a smile, "You can take this too. When you're in danger, crush the token. No matter where I am, you'll be able to sense it." "That's even better." Long Qin immediately took the token happily. The moment Long Qin grabbed the token, a warm current rose in his heart. His father still cared about them. "Then that's it. You can do it." Ice Dragon looked at the 2 of them and smiled encouragingly. Then, he put away the 15 ultimate inheritances of the Law of Death, turned around, took a step, and instantly disappeared into the void. "Are you happy now? If they want to obtain these inheritances, they will have to curry favor with you first." Long Qin put away the token and the divine sound transmission stone. He looked at Long Qin and shook his head with a smile. "I've helped them so much. Shouldn't they try to please me?" Long Qin smiled proudly. Long Qin shook his head and smiled. "Then let's go to the Shen family village and tell them the good news." Very soon, the brother and sister arrived in the sky above the Shen family village. Black Tortoise World. Seeing the 2 of them appear, Madman and the others immediately stood up and looked at the 2 of them with apprehension in their eyes. Sigh. Long Qin looked at the group of people and sighed. He didn't agree. Seeing this, everyone looked disappointed. Long Qin also played along under Long Qin's threat. He sighed and said, "We've already tried our best, but, Sai, I'm really sorry." "I'm fine." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. White-Eyed Wolf looked at the 2 of them and asked, "Can't we discuss it again?" We almost knelt down and begged. Long Qin sat on the stone bench and kept shaking his head and sighing. White-Eyed Wolf was also disappointed. He sat on the stone bench dejectedly. Madman and Demon Ancestor also had a look of regret. "Don't be like this. Ice Dragon has no obligation to help us. Let's just accept it." Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 of them and comforted them. "What else can we do? We can't just rob them. We don't have the strength." Madman shook his head. But in his heart, he was really disappointed. Long Qin looked at the depressed expressions of the group of people and suddenly laughed. "I'm just teasing you." Father agreed, and the inheritance has already been exchanged. "What?" The group of people immediately looked up at Long Qin. Qin Feiyang was also surprised. Long Qin smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, 15 iron boxes appeared and were neatly placed on the stone table. The group of people immediately looked at the iron boxes. The size was about the same, but the shape and pattern of the iron boxes had obviously changed. And without using divine sense, they could clearly sense the aura of the inheritance. "Are you surprised?" Long Qin looked at White-Eyed Wolf and the others jokingly. "What a surprise." White-Eyed Wolf jumped up and hugged Long Qin. He said excitedly, "Thank you, thank you." This sudden scene made Long Qin's cheeks blush. Qin Feiyang and the others also immediately looked at the 2 of them with a playful expression. Cough cough. Fire Dance next to him was also stunned. When she came back to her senses, she coughed hard. Immediately, White-Eyed Wolf quivered and hurriedly let go of Long Qin. He turned to look at Fire Dance and said, "That. Sister Phoenix, this, don't take it the wrong way. I'm purely grateful, I can understand." Fire Dance nodded and gritted her teeth. White-Eyed Wolf looked at this scene and couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. "That, Brother Wolf, quickly open it." Lunatic changed the topic. Otherwise, Brother Wolf would be in trouble again. "Okay." White-Eyed Wolf nodded and immediately grabbed an iron box. But the next moment, he was dumbfounded and couldn't open it. What's the situation? The others also grabbed an iron box, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't open the iron box in their hands. Immediately after, the group of people looked at Long Chen and his sister. Don't look at me. Let Qin speak. Long Chen drank his tea. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on Long Chen. This is not my problem. It's father's idea. Long Chen immediately explained the conditions of the ice dragon to him. This, White-Eyed Wolf and the others looked at each other. Wasn't this making things difficult for them? It was easy to kill these sky prides, but every time they came to the sky cloud realm, they would leave their souls in the divine kingdom. It was useless to kill them. It's indeed easy for you, but for me, this is a very difficult task. Looking at White-Eyed Wolf and Lunatic, the demon ancestor smiled bitterly. What's so difficult about you? White-Eyed Wolf was puzzled. Didn't you hear what Long Chen said? No help from others. You can only do it yourself. The demon ancestor smiled bitterly. With our strength, of course, we don't need help from others. Besides, in the face of Ryuko and the others, no one can help us except Feather Emperor. White-Eyed Wolf said. That's not what I mean. My father means that you have to kill the sky prides of the divine kingdom by yourself. For example, the demon ancestor. If he wants these inheritances, he has to rely on his own strength to kill the sky prides. We, including you, can't help him. Long Chen explained. So that's how it is. White-Eyed Wolf suddenly understood. Looking at the demon ancestor, he grinned and said, that's indeed quite difficult. With the eye of despair, it's not like there's no hope. We just need to find a good opportunity to kill him in one blow. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Yes. The demon ancestor nodded. White-Eyed Wolf rolled his eyes and looked at Long Chen, saying, can't we discuss it? Let's integrate these inheritances first and then kill the sky prides of the divine kingdom? Absolutely not. It's already not easy for my father to agree to exchange these laws for you. And my father also said that if you dare to cheat, he will take back these inheritances directly. Long Chen shook his head. White-Eyed Wolf looked at Long Chen again. Long Chen had always been easy to talk to. Long Chen took a sip of tea and looked up at White-Eyed Wolf's longing eyes. He shook his head and smiled, saying, this time, I really can't help you. Qin has full authority. I don't believe that I can't open this broken box without your blood essence. White-Eyed Wolf's temper rose. He took out the crimson dragon shield and smashed it at the iron box. With a clang, the iron box didn't show any signs of breaking. It's so hard. White-Eyed Wolf activated various laws and crazily rushed toward the iron box, but it was useless against the seal on it. Save it. Do you think you can shake the seal set by my father? Long Chen looked down on him. White-Eyed Wolf's temper was completely gone. He looked at Long Chen and said, let's discuss it. No means no. Long Chen turned his head away. Do you believe that I won't beat you up? White-Eyed Wolf raised his eyebrows. Come on. Long Chen was not afraid at all. Instead, he looked provocative. White-Eyed Wolf glared at her for a moment and finally gave up. This woman, he couldn't offend her now. But suddenly, he rolled his eyes and transmitted his voice, Demon Ancestor, you look quite handsome. Why don't you sacrifice your looks? Demon Ancestor's face suddenly darkened. What kind of rotten idea was this? At the same time, Longqin's forehead was also bulging with veins, and he said angrily, damn wolf cub, what are you muttering about? Don't you want these inheritances anymore? Huh? White-Eyed Wolf quickly looked at Long Chen and found that Long Chen's eyes were faintly glowing. He immediately realized that something was wrong and said, woman, what's wrong with you? Why do you like to eavesdrop on other people's conversations so much? You're reprimanding me? Long Chen was stunned and sneered, I think you really don't want it anymore. After that, he got up and grabbed the 15 iron boxes. White-eyed Wolf saw that the situation was not good and immediately rushed up, protecting all the iron boxes in his arms, and smiled apologetically. Let's talk nicely, let's talk nicely. Qin Feiyang and the others had a suspicious look on their faces as they watched the two of them arguing endlessly. What did White-eyed Wolf say to Demon Ancestor? Why was Long Qin so angry? Apologize. Long Qin stared at White-eyed Wolf. Okay. I apologize. I'm sorry. White-eyed Wolf gave in. He had to. Whether he could get these inheritances now depended on this woman's mood. If she was not in a good mood, even if they successfully killed the heavenly son of the divine kingdom and did not help them unlock the seal, they could only stare at her helplessly. After all, Long Chen had already said that he would give full authority to Long Qin. That's more like it. Long Qin smiled with satisfaction, returned to his seat, and said, instead of wasting time here, it's better to think of a way to kill the heavenly son of the divine kingdom. Yes. I agree. White-eyed Wolf nodded, looked at Demon Ancestor and Lunatic, and said, then let's think about it. What's there to think about? If we want to kill them completely, we have to enter the divine kingdom. Lunatic rubbed his forehead. Not only do we have to enter the divine kingdom, but we also have to kill our way to their nest. Because their divine souls will definitely be left in their nest. And whether it's Ryuko or Jiang Yunshuang, they all have extraordinary status in the divine kingdom. The divine souls they leave behind will definitely be carefully protected by the monarch, the divine king, and the human sovereign. In other words, if we want to kill them completely, we have to face the experts of the older generation of the divine kingdom. It seems very simple, but after careful analysis, you will find that when it comes to actually taking action, it's harder than ascending to the sky. Demon Ancestor shook his head and said helplessly. With his current strength, he had to find an opportunity to face people like Ryuko, let alone the older generation of the divine kingdom. Chapter 40-36. It's a bit difficult, but as long as we work hard, it's not impossible. Moreover, Ice Dragon only said that we have to rely on our own strength to kill the prodigies of the divine kingdom. He didn't say that we can't attack others. Qin Feiyang was deep in thought. That's right. If the older generation of the divine kingdom is alarmed, we can restrain them, and you can fight the prodigies of the divine kingdom without worry. Yun Xiang nodded. Thanks. Not only did you not blame us for not giving you the inheritance, but you also spent so much effort to help us. Madman looked at Yun Xiang with a trace of gratitude. Yun Xiang was stunned and said with a dark face, if you say that again, I'll really get angry. We've all gone through life and death together. Is there still a need to distinguish between you and me? Madman laughed dryly. Let's talk about it later. Actually, I've always felt guilty about Qin Feiyang and Qin Badian. Yun Xiang sighed. Guilty? Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. Although I haven't seen Qin Badian yet, I know that Qin Badian is Master's biological son. You're also Master's descendant. But now, Master has given me all three ultimate mysteries of her strongest laws. As Master's child and descendant, you and Qin Badian didn't get a single ultimate mystery. So I've always felt that I owe you. Yun Xiang sighed. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, this is the ancestor's choice. I don't think that not only me, but also the ancestor will not care about this. It's because you're so magnanimous that I feel especially guilty. Yun Xiang shook his head. As you said, we're all on the same side. It's okay. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, looked at everyone, and said with a smile, in that case, we still have to go to the divine kingdom. Definitely. 15 ultimate profundity inheritances are right in front of me. I can't just stand there and watch. White-eyed Wolf glanced at Long Qin. This woman must be deliberately making things difficult for them. We have to go to the divine kingdom, but we have to make a plan. It would be best if we could sneak in without anyone noticing. The enemy is in the open, while we are in the dark. That would make it easier for them to kill the geniuses. Long Chen smiled faintly and took out the inheritance he got from Long Zun. He handed it to Qin Feiyang and said, "Help us pass this to Li Feng." "He's really giving it to me?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. A gentleman never goes back on his word. "Of course I have to keep my promise." Long Chen smiled. "All right." Qin Feiyang took the inheritance and said with a smile, "I'll thank you on behalf of Li Feng." Long Chen waved his hand and asked, "Do Li Zhongsheng and the other two have any objections?" "I've already talked to them. Although the inheritance is very tempting to them, they also agree with your suggestion. Let the stronger ones grasp the will of the heavenly Tao first." Qin Feiyang smiled. Long Chen shook his head and sighed, "I really envy you. Everyone around you is so reasonable." Qin Feiyang heard this and felt that Long Chen seemed to be implying something. He asked suspiciously, "Is there something bothering you?" "Yes." Long Chen nodded and looked at the demon ancestor, Dong Zhengyang, Mu Tianyang, and the mermaid princess. He smiled and said, "Why don't you all leave for a while? I have some private matters to discuss with Brother Qin, Brother Mo, and Wolf King." "Okay." Everyone looked at each other. They were quite tactful and immediately stood up. Long Chen turned to look at Long Qin and said with a smile, "Qin, you should go take a look too." "Not going." "What are you trying to hide?" "No way." Long Qin shook his head. "Be obedient. Aren't you curious about the Black Tortoise realm?" Long Chen chuckled. "What's there to be curious about?" Long Qin was disdainful. Anyway, he just wouldn't leave. It was useless to chase him away. Long Chen's face was full of helplessness. After a moment of silence, he shook his head and said, "Forget it. Anyway, you will know about these things sooner or later." At this moment, the demon ancestor, mermaid princess, and the others had already left. Long Chen put down the teacup in his hand, looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, "Back then, how much do you know about Yi Zhong and my mother?" "Huh?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Why did he suddenly ask about this? Long Chen said, "Tell me the truth. Was my mother using Yi Zhong back then?" This, Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf and Frenzy looked at each other. No matter how they looked at it, it was still a question of death. After pondering for a long time, Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "Yes, from the beginning, your mother was using Master's feelings for her. She never really loved him." As expected. Long Chen smiled bitterly and shook his head. "When Father told me about this, I still couldn't believe it." "When did Father tell you these things?" Long Qin was suspicious. "After the battle, when I left with him alone, he opened his heart and told me a lot of things, including the situation between him and Mother." Long Chen sighed. "Then what happened between Father and Mother?" Long Qin frowned. "Father said." Long Chen looked at his sister and sighed. "What I'm going to say next may be cruel to you, but since you want to know, I'll tell you. In fact, Mother never really liked Father. The reason why she married Father was that she valued Father's strength." Long Qin's expression froze when she heard this. She shook her head and said, "I don't believe it. I can understand. But this is the truth. This is also the reason why Father was unwilling to be with Mother. Father even said that if it weren't for us, he might not have contacted Mother." Long Chen sighed. Long Qin's face couldn't help but turn pale. Mother had no feelings for Father? This was different from what she usually saw. Usually, although Mother often complained about Father, she could sometimes see longing for Father in her eyes. You have to know that once something like love is broken, no matter how it is repaired, there will be cracks. In the past, Mother deceived Father's feelings and wanted Father to be her backer to help her achieve her ambition of unifying the ancient world. Although now, after years of being together, Mother has developed some feelings for Father, but the deceit in the past can't be erased. So, it's impossible to go back to the beginning. Long Chen shook his head. His face was full of disappointment. Long Chen's body stiffened slightly. She asked, "Is this father's intention?" He didn't say that, but that's what he meant. I also asked father if mother repented, would father forgive her? Would they reconcile? Father's answer was to wait until she repented. He didn't have too much hope in his words. Long Chen sighed. Long Chen was silent. She didn't know what to say. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other and couldn't help but sigh. They didn't expect Long Zun and Ice Dragon's situation to be so serious. It was reasonable for Ice Dragon to be upset after being deceived. But as children, Long Chen and Long Qin would feel even worse when they saw their parents like this. And the person who caused all this, Long Zun, was really not worthy of sympathy. For the sake of interests and ambition, he could even sacrifice his feelings. "I'm sorry for making a fool of myself." Long Chen looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two and shook her head. "Not at all. You can say it in front of us without any scruples. This is the trust you have in us." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. "So now, what are you going to do?" Frenzy looked at the siblings and asked. "I don't know." Long Qin shook her head. "As children, of course, I hope that my parents can live happily together. Only then can Qin and I feel the warmth of a family. But the problem now is that mother's deceit has become a fact, and with mother's character, she will definitely not bow down to father first." Long Chen sighed. "Then do you want your father to bow down first? As a man, it's already very magnanimous of him not to divorce her after being deceived. So, we have to start with your mother," White-Eyed Wolf said. Qin Feiyang and Frenzy nodded in agreement. In this matter, Ice Dragon was definitely the biggest victim. To make Ice Dragon bow down first, not to mention Ice Dragon himself, no one would support it. "Of course, I know this. But it's not like you don't know my mother's character. To make her bow down is harder than ascending to the heavens. Right now, I'm really helpless." Long Chen rubbed his forehead, his face full of helplessness. Frenzy pondered for a while and said with a smirk, "I have an idea." Long Chen looked at Frenzy and said with a dark face, "Please don't be a bad idea." "Damn. You think I'm Brother Wolf?" Frenzy was dissatisfied. "What are you talking about? Did I offend you or provoke you?" White-Eyed Wolf glared at him fiercely. "It's the truth. When have you not come up with a bad idea?" Frenzy looked at the Long Chen siblings with disdain and said, "You just said that after all these years, Long Zun has developed feelings for your father. Why don't you try to provoke him?" "Provoke him?" Long Qin was suspicious. "Yes. Go back and ask your mother to divorce your father." Frenzy bared his teeth. "What?" Long Qin's expression stiffened and a row of black lines appeared on his forehead. Wasn't this a bad idea? White-Eyed Wolf's mouth kept twitching. How could he ask someone to persuade their parents to divorce? This bastard was too mean. However, Qin Feiyang and Long Chen lowered their heads and pondered. Frenzy's idea seemed to be adding trouble, but if one thought about it carefully, this method might have a miraculous effect. "I think it's feasible." Qin Feiyang nodded. "I think so too." Long Chen nodded as well. "Are the two of you crazy?" Long Qin looked at the two of them, looking very angry. "Qin, don't be anxious." Long Chen waved his hand. "You've already gone crazy with them. How can I not be anxious?" Long Qin was furious. What was he thinking? If Frenzy's bad idea worked, he would walk backwards in the future. Qin, Desperate times call for desperate measures. Hasn't mother been complaining about father? Then we'll just follow her wishes and let her part ways with father. And that's the main point. Long Chen laughed. Chapter 4037. What's the point? Long Qin frowned. If mother really has no feelings for father, she will definitely divorce him if we ask her to. On the contrary, if mother has developed feelings for father after all these years, she will definitely not divorce him no matter what we say. In this way, we can test mother's true thoughts. When she sees her true thoughts, she may try to change them. Of course. We can also force her to change. She can either let go or change her ways and ask for father's forgiveness. Of course. Forcing her to change is the last plan. If she can change on her own, we can't do anything. Long Qin explained. So that's how it is. Long Qin suddenly understood. He glanced at Qin Feiyang and the other two and frowned again. What about mother's hatred for Qin Feiyang and the others? How can we solve this? There's no hurry. There's still a long way to go. There will be opportunities sooner or later. Brother Qin, don't you think so? Long Qin looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two and smiled. If she can really let it go, that's for the best. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. All right. Long Qin nodded and got up. One last thing. You have to help us keep our relationship with father a secret. The Divine Kingdom can't know about it. Isn't it better if the Divine Kingdom knows about it? When we face you in the future, no matter how bold the Divine Kingdom is, they won't dare to hurt you. We can even benefit from it. The white-eyed wolf smiled slyly. You're too naive. What if Scandinavia's courage is beyond our imagination? What if they attack us then? You have to know that in the eyes of the Divine Kingdom, we are also a good bargaining chip. Long Qin smiled bitterly. They dare. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed fiercely. Come on. They aren't even afraid of the blood oath. What are they afraid of? Long Qin shook his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. Accompany us out. All right. Qin Feiyang got up and appeared in the sky outside with the brother and sister. Long Qin waved his hand and a god's domain appeared. He smiled and said, "Try and see if you can replicate it." Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment before he nodded and said with a smile, "Okay, I've been wanting to try it for a long time." The purple gold dragon's soul appeared. The eye of heaven opened, and a formless energy enveloped the god's domain. In less than 3 breaths, a god's domain appeared around Qin Feiyang. It can be replicated? Long Qin frowned. Just as I expected. Long Qin shook his head and smiled. You already expected this? Long Qin looked at him in surprise. Seeing how the eye of heaven could replicate the king's draconic penitentiary, I guessed that it could replicate my god's domain as well. As Long Qin finished speaking, the god's domain disappeared. Qin Feiyang also withdrew his fighting soul. Long Qin frowned and said, "But hasn't your god's domain evolved?" It's true that the god's domain has evolved, but so has the eye of heaven. For me personally, it's not good news that the god's domain can be replicated. Because this means that I won't be Qin Feiyang's opponent in the future. But for the entire sky cloud realm, it's a good thing. Because when he replicates the god's domain, it will double his strength. After Long Qin finished speaking, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Brother Qin, in the future, the sky cloud realm will have to rely on your efforts to support it. We can only assist from the side. Don't be so modest, okay?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Long Qin's combat strength was obvious to all. Even now, he only mastered one ultimate law, but as long as he opens the god's domain, any divine arts and laws would be useless. Moreover, after this battle, when Long Qin returned to the dragon's nest, he would definitely begin to improve his strength. He casually gave Li Feng an inheritance. One could imagine how many inheritances he had in his hands. So as long as he was willing, it wouldn't take long for him to integrate with the will of heaven. Is the friendly competition still going on? Suddenly, Qin Feiyang asked. I'm not sure. When I return to the dragon's nest later, I'll go take a look. If the friendly competition continues, with the demon ancestor's strength, the first place will be easily taken. At that time, he will be able to get 3 more inheritances. The reward for the first place of the friendly competition was the inheritance of 3 ultimate laws. In second place was an ultimate profundity inheritance of a supreme law and an ultimate profundity inheritance of an ordinary law. The third place was the inheritance of 1 ultimate law. The 4th place to the 10th place would be divided into the remaining inheritance of the ultimate laws. As for the people outside the top 10, their rewards were the epitome of the laws. Originally, the reward for the first place was definitely not going to run away. But now, with such a thing happening, the friendly competition couldn't continue. With the competition interrupted, they couldn't force the inheritance of the laws from the divine kingdom. Besides, with the current relationship between the Sky Cloud Realm and the divine kingdom, the other party wouldn't be willing to take it out. Then I'll leave it to you. As for me, Qin Feiyang glanced around at the broken land and sighed. It's all my fault that the Western continent has become like this, so I need to do something. Long Chen nodded and smiled. Then we'll meet again. After saying that, he opened a space-time passage and led Long Qin away. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed and returned to the tea garden. Looking at the 15 iron boxes on the table, he smiled. At least we didn't work in vain. You can keep these inheritances first. When we kill the geniuses of the divine kingdom, we can go directly to Long Qin to unlock the seal. Long Qin must have done it on purpose. The white-eyed wolf snorted. Even if she did it on purpose, so what? Don't forget. If it weren't for the help of the siblings, these 15 ultimate inheritances of the law of death would be worthless to you. And now, although there's a seal, as long as you work hard and master the will of the heavens, it's only a matter of time. So, don't be dissatisfied. Qin Feiyang picked up 4 of the iron boxes and left the Black Tortoise realm again to find Li Feng. Soon, he saw Li Feng at the top of a broken mountain. He was sitting on the ground with his head lowered, looking a little lost and helpless. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and didn't go up to disturb him. He put away the 4 iron boxes and stepped into the sky. As waves of life energy emerged, a divine lotus appeared. It was the size of a palm and had a total of 18 leaves. It was emerald green and emitted a dazzling divine light. This was the ultimate meaning of the law of life, the divine lotus of life. As soon as the divine lotus of life appeared, a majestic life energy surged in all directions like a tide. Li Feng was the first to notice it. He raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang with a puzzled expression. But soon, he saw a shocking scene. Under the nourishment of the divine lotus of life, patches of weeds and small trees rapidly grew out of the shattered earth under their feet. Moreover, as time passed, the small trees slowly grew into towering trees. In less than 100 breaths' time, the land in front of him, as far as his eyes could see, was filled with ancient trees and hundreds of flowers, full of vitality and vitality. This is the power of the law of life? Li Feng was shocked. It was many times stronger than the law of wood's ultimate meaning, withered wood rejuvenation. Moreover, this life energy was still spreading to the entire western mainland. 5 days passed. The western mainland had changed greatly. The dense vegetation covered all traces of the battle. The battle fluctuations that filled the air were also purified. At this moment, those who didn't know about the western continent would never have guessed that a fierce battle had taken place here. Vegetation and wildflowers were everywhere. It was simply a heaven-like existence. In these 5 days, Li Feng had been looking at Qin Feiyang and the changes in the western mainland. His bewildered state gradually disappeared. Yes. Even if he let go of his hatred, there were still many things he could do. For example, like Qin Dage, protecting the Sky Cloud Realm and the people of the world. He was no longer a child. And his strength was at the peak of the Sky Cloud Realm, so he should bear this responsibility. As for hatred, he lost to Long Qin, and Long Chen personally knelt down to apologize. Why did Long Chen do this? It was not because he was afraid of him. With Long Chen's strength, it was too easy to kill him. Long Chen did this for the sake of the people of this continent. Even Long Chen could put down his pride and kneel to him for the sake of the people of the world. Why couldn't he? That's right. In this life, one could not always be obsessed with the past. Otherwise, not only would he not be happy, but it would also affect the people around him. So now, he had let go. Let bygones be bygones. Qin Feiyang stepped in front of Li Feng and said with a smile, "It seems that you already have the answer in your heart." "Thank you, Qin Dage." Li Feng stood up and bowed. Although Qin Feiyang had not said a single word to Li Feng in the past few days, his actions were actually guiding Li Feng. He hoped that Li Feng could find the value and purpose of life from his actions. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and took out the inheritance that Long Chen gave him and the 4 iron boxes. This? Li Feng was surprised. This inheritance of the ultimate profound of the time law was given to you by Long Chen. The other 4 iron boxes were exchanged for by the siblings when they went to Ice Dragon. Qin Feiyang briefly explained the situation. Because Li Feng still did not know about these things. The Divine Kingdom is so despicable. Li Feng raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "You can't say that. After all, if it were you and I, we would do the same." "That's true." Li Feng nodded and looked at the 5 inheritances in front of him. He sighed and said, "I really admire Long Chen more and more. He can even let go of the hatred of the extermination of his clan. Compared to him, I feel like an ignorant child." Because Long Chen was carrying the hatred of the extermination of his clan. And the Cloud Mountain village he was in was nothing compared to the entire dragons. Long Chen could let go, but he was still trapped in the past. Compared to Long Chen's righteousness, he felt a little ashamed after waking up. Don't have such thoughts. Not only us, even Long Chen can understand your feelings. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Thank you." Li Feng lowered his head. Carefully thinking back to the past, it seemed that everyone had always been tolerant of him. For example, in the Nether King's hell, he killed the innocent and absorbed the flesh and blood of living creatures. It was Qin Feiyang and the others who interceded for him that the blood demon race let him go. Later, when he entered the Sky Cloud realm, he killed wantonly in the northern continent. After Qin Feiyang and the others learned about it, they still tolerated him. This was all love for him. It was indeed time for him to grow up and not be so insensible anymore. The error-free chapters of Immortal God of War will continue to be updated in the hand fighting bar. There are no advertisements in the website. Please bookmark and recommend the hand fighting bar. Chapter 4038. Qin Feiyang patted Li Feng's shoulder and said with a smile, "Speaking of which, you are luckier than Demon Ancestor and the others, because the inheritance that Long Chen gave you is not sealed." Li Feng scratched his head. "However, don't let down Long Chen's expectations of you. Not only this inheritance, the other 4 great inheritances were also proposed by him to be given to you." Qin Feiyang warned. "I know." Li Feng nodded solemnly. Qin Feiyang smiled, turned around, and flew towards the sky above the Shen family village. Li Feng put away the inheritance and immediately followed. Very soon, the 2 of them arrived above the Shen family village. Although the earth had been restored to life, the village was long gone. The terrain had also changed greatly. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and an invisible force enveloped the area below, causing the mountains and rivers to tremble. He was restoring the terrain. For an expert of his level, as long as he knew what it was like before, restoring it to the past was just a matter of waving his hand. In less than a moment, the familiar terrain appeared in front of Qin Feiyang's eyes. Following closely, he landed on the ground again and called out Madman and the White-Eyed Wolf. The four of them worked together and spent half a day to personally create a brand new Shin family village. Although they were all new, the location of the village, the appearance and number of houses, as well as the layout of the village, were almost exactly the same as before. Qin Dage, you are so good to them. Li Feng laughed. People have to know how to be grateful. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Then, he buried more than a dozen spirit veins and crystal veins underground. And let the white-eyed wolf set up a time array that lasted 5,000 years a day. After doing all this, Qin Feiyang let the white-eyed wolf inform the Divine King to bring the Shin family village back. Because it was the Divine King who brought the people of the Shin family village away. At that time, the Divine King took the people of the Shin family village and fled directly to the Sea of Heavenly Clouds. After all, the battle fluctuations were too terrifying. As long as they escaped into the Sea of Heavenly Clouds, they would be truly safe. When the Ghost Divine King brought the entire village back to the Qin family village, they saw the familiar village from afar. The group of people were immediately dumbfounded. How could the Shin family village remain intact after such a terrifying battle? Furthermore, even the terrain around the village had not changed much. At the entrance of the village, Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, White-Eyed Wolf, and Lunatic stood side by side. That is, Qin Feiyang, Little Devil King Li Feng, Golden-Winged Wolf King, Madman Mo. Everyone in the village looked at the villagers standing at the entrance of the village and their faces were filled with respect. Furthermore, it seemed like he was intentionally waiting for them. What did they do to deserve this? Why would these big shots wait for him in the village? They waited for the Divine King to arrive at the village entrance. With Shinmulan in the lead, they all knelt down and kowtowed, greetings to the four lords. Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment, then hurriedly helped Shinmulan up, and said, Brother Shen, how long has it been? You've already become so distant. Brother Shen? Shinmulan looked at Qin Feiyang in bewilderment. Why would he call him that? And Dazhuang, Little Jia. Qin Feiyang then looked at Shin Dazhuang and Little Jia, and laughed. You guys should get up as well. You know us? The two of them were also extremely bewildered. How can I not know you? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, Everyone, get up and take a look at your new home. New home? Everyone stood up one after another and looked towards the village. Soon, they discovered that although everything was the same as before, everything was new. Moreover, the energy of the crystal vein and the energy of the soul vein in the village was also completely different from before. Shin Dazhuang and Shin Xiaojia looked at each other, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked carefully, Did you build this for us? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Shin Dazhuang was immediately overwhelmed by the favor and said, How could I let you personally? Qin Feiyang waved his hand and interrupted Shin Dazhuang's words, and laughed. You guys have taken care of me for so many years, this is a small matter that I should do. Take care of? Everyone was suspicious. Why didn't they remember taking care of this person? Moreover, the other party was such a powerful person, he didn't need their care. Don't you understand? The Qin Feiyang standing in front of you is the one who has lived in your Shin family village for decades. The madman grinned. He has lived in our Shin family village for decades. When the villagers heard this, their expressions immediately became startled. It seemed that in these years, the only person who came to their Shin family village was Gu Feng. Wait. Gu Feng lived here for decades, and even took care of him. Everyone seemed to have thought of something and looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Yes. I am Gu Feng. I'm really sorry for lying to everyone for so many years. Qin Feiyang smiled apologetically. You are Gu Feng? Gu Feng is you, Lord? Shinmulan's eyes widened. Shin Dazhuang, Shin Xiaojia, and the other villagers all looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. This big brother Gu Feng who had lived in their village for decades was actually the famous Qin Feiyang? For them, this was undoubtedly a bolt from the blue. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at Shen Xiaojia and the group of young people behind her, and said with a smile, "I watched you all grow up." Big brother Gu Feng, Qin Feiyang, Shen Xiaojia and the group of young people murmured, looking up and down at Qin Feiyang. It wasn't that they didn't believe it, but they really didn't dare to believe it. Because the difference in status was too great. In the past, although Gu Feng had shown powerful strength, he didn't look so terrifying. But Qin Feiyang was an existence that countless people respected, and he was a big shot that stood at the top of the sky cloud realm. At this moment, the man in front of them changed from Gu Feng to Qin Feiyang. Their hearts were really hard to calm down. Back then, I had some problems in cultivation, so I came out to travel the sky cloud realm alone. Later, I accidentally came to your village. Your kindness and simplicity made me stop in my tracks. From then on, I stayed in the village. I am very grateful to you. Especially Dazhuang and Xiaojia. Since the day I grew old, you have always been by my side to take care of me, clean the house, and talk to me, allowing me to have a peaceful and happy old age. Qin Feiyang slowly said, his calm tone was full of gratitude. So that's how it is. I knew it. Your strength is so strong, and you can even take out the eternal youth elixir to prolong one's life. Shen Mulan suddenly nodded. Shen Dazhuang, Shen Xiaojia, and the other people in the village also slowly accepted this fact. However, as Qin Feiyang's true identity was exposed, everyone became cautious and no longer had the same feeling as before. Don't feel restrained just because I'm Qin Feiyang. I'm still the same Gu Feng from before. There's no change. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Really? Shen Xiaojia asked carefully. Qin Feiyang nodded. I don't believe it. Shen Xiaojia shook her head. You don't believe it? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and smiled helplessly. Then what do I have to do to make you believe it? I don't know either. Anyway, I just feel that you're different from big brother Gu Feng. Shen Xiaojia lowered her head and muttered. Qin Feiyang looked at the little girl and asked teasingly, So, you're still a little unhappy that I've been resurrected? No. Shen Xiaojia hurriedly waved her hands and looked at Qin Feiyang. Of course I'm happy. But I don't have the same feeling as before. Qin Feiyang walked forward and rubbed Shen Xiaojia's head. He looked at the villagers and smiled. I know that you guys will definitely feel some pressure when facing me now, but whether it's in the past or in the future, I will always be the Gu Feng that you guys are familiar with. In the future, you can continue to call me Gu Feng. Everyone looked at each other and a smile gradually appeared on their faces. All right. He's Gu Feng. Cough cough. Since Lord Qin has already said so, what are we afraid of? Shen Mulan looked at the villagers and smiled. Gu Feng had long been used to calling him Gu Feng, so he couldn't hold back for a moment. Brother Shen, you should call me brother too. Qin Feiyang laughed. Shen Mulan looked at the sincere Qin Feiyang and nodded. All right, then I'll take advantage of my seniority. Don't say that. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. He glanced at the village and said, I don't know how to thank everyone for taking care of me all these years, so I took the initiative to bury more than a dozen spirit veins and crystal veins here, and also set up a time array that lasts 5,000 years a day. I hope you guys don't mind. What? A time array that lasts 5,000 years a day. The eyes of the villagers suddenly trembled. Shen Xiaojia said, Brother Gu Feng, you mean that we will live in the village for 5,000 years, but only one day will pass outside? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then I'll have to work harder in the future. Shen Xiaojia's face was full of excitement. Shen Dazhuang and the other young people in the village were also very excited. However, the older generation in the village was very calm. As expected. These things were only tempting to the younger generation of the Shen family village. The older generation did not care about these things at all. Qin Feiyang smiled. Also, I've prepared some gifts for you guys. What gifts? The eyes of the group of young people lit up. Qin Feiyang smiled, took out a Qinkuan bag, and handed it to Shen Mulan. For me? Shen Mulan was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, the things inside are very important, and they need a reliable person to take care of them. What important things? Shen Mulan muttered, took the Qinkuan bag, and carefully checked for a while. He found that there were only about 100 pills of various shapes and colors in it. Shen Dazhuang and the others also surrounded it. After seeing the pills, their faces were full of doubts. Because they did not recognize a single one of these pills. Qin Feiyang said, these are all pills to open the door of potential. His words were not to be shocked to death. As soon as they heard the words, open the door of potential, the villagers were stunned. If it was not because Qin Feiyang took it out, they would not believe it even if they were beaten to death. Brother Shen, give it to me first. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand. Okay. Shen Mulan, who was in shock, instinctively handed the Qinkuan bag to Qin Feiyang. Chapter 4039. Qin Feiyang took out a medicinal pill and patiently explained how to use it. Because different realms required different medicinal pills. This must be explained clearly. The medicinal pills that opened the door of potential were different from other medicinal pills. If these medicinal pills were taken wrongly, they could lose their lives. A moment later. After Qin Feiyang finished explaining, he looked at Shen Mulan and smiled. Brother Shen, do you remember it? Shen Mulan looked at Qin Feiyang, slightly lost in thought. Although the face standing in front of him was not the same, Qin Feiyang's eyes at this moment, as well as the intimacy revealed, were exactly the same as the previous Gu Feng. Moreover, the dignified overlord of the Sky Cloud realm was actually so patient to explain the use of medicinal pills to them. This character was too good. Brother Shen? Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Huh? Shen Mulan came back to his senses and looked at Qin Feiyang apologetically. I'm sorry, I was a little distracted and didn't hear it clearly. Would you like to trouble you to say it again? Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and explained in detail. There's really nothing to say about their attitude. Looking at Qin Feiyang lowering his head and seriously explaining to Shen Mulan, Li Feng couldn't help but shake his head and smile. Indeed. Madman and White-Eyed Wolf nodded. This also showed the position of the Shen family village in Qin Feiyang's heart. A moment later. Qin Feiyang finished talking again, looked at Shen Mulan and said, this time you heard it clearly. Clear, clear. Thank you. Shen Mulan nodded, his face full of gratitude. The medicinal pills that opened the door of potential, for the Shen family village, was a great fortune. No need to thank me. This is a parting gift for the young people in the village. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. You're leaving? Shen Mulan was taken aback. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Shen Xiaojia looked up at Qin Feiyang and asked in puzzlement, Brother Gu Feng, why are you leaving? Isn't our place good? It's good here. Qin Feiyang scanned the village before lowering his head to look at Shen Xiaojia and apologetically said, but I still have something important to do. I can't stay here forever. But, Shen Xiaojia mustered her courage and hugged Qin Feiyang's arm. She shook her head and said, I can't bear for you to leave. Little Jia. Shen Dazhuang glared at Shen Xiaojia and said, Gu. Qin, he didn't know what to call her now. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, just call me Qin Dage. Isn't this a little disrespectful? Shen Dazhuang asked fearfully. What are you talking about? Qin Feiyang angrily knocked on his head. Shen Dazhuang rubbed his forehead and laughed. As expected, nothing had changed. He was still the same big brother Gu Feng from before. Then he looked at Shen Xiaojia and said, Qin Dage is such a powerful person, he must have a lot of things to do. Furthermore, he still has to fight with the people of the Divine Kingdom and protect our Sky Cloud realm. How can he have time to play in the village every day? I know. But I just can't bear to. Shen Xiaojia lowered her head and muttered. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He pinched Shen Xiaojia's nose and laughed. I promise, I will come back to see you when I have time in the future. Shen Xiaojia rubbed her nose, raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang. You said it, you can't go back on your word. Qin Feiyang nodded. But there's no need to be in such a hurry. Why don't you guys rest here for a few days? Shen Milan looked at Qin Feiyang's group of 4 and said. That's right. It's only a few days. It won't take up too much of your time. Look, not only did you build a home for us, you also gave us such a precious gift. No matter what, we have to thank you properly. The other villagers also spoke one after another, their faces full of sincerity. Shen Dazhuang didn't say anything, but there was a hint of anticipation on his face. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd, then turned to White-Eyed Wolf and the other 2. White-Eyed Wolf said, I really can't wait to go to the Divine Kingdom, but since everyone is so enthusiastic, why don't we rest here for a few days? That's fine too. Frenzied Wolf thought about it and nodded. In fact, he also couldn't wait to leave for the Divine Kingdom. The sooner he killed those 3 prodigies, the sooner he could integrate with the will of heaven. I'm fine with anything. Li Feng shrugged. All right then. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at Shen Milan and the others, and said with a smile, then I'll have to trouble everyone again. What are you talking about? We can't be happier. Everyone was full of smiles. An old man shouted, don't just stand here, quickly go back to the house and prepare a banquet to entertain our guests. Right away, right away. The group immediately ran into the village. Shen Milan also looked at Shen Dazhuang and scolded jokingly, don't just stand there, quickly go and prepare a tea table and chairs, do you want everyone to stand and chat? Just at the entrance of the village, the scenery here is good, and the air is good. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Okay. Shen Dazhuang nodded, and quickly took out a small round table and a few small chairs made of bamboo from his cosmos ring. Sit down and chat. Shen Milan looked at Qin Feiyang and the others and smiled. The 4 of them sat around the table. Shen Milan accompanied them. Shen Dazhuang, Shen Xiaojia, and a group of young people and children all gathered around, looking at Qin Feiyang and the others with curiosity and admiration in their eyes. Shen Xiaojia suddenly asked, Qin Dage, there were 2 beautiful sisters, and they said they were your sister and wife, is this true? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then it's over. Shen Xiaojia's face turned pale. Shen Dazhuang was also a little frightened. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 of them suspiciously. When I saw your body disappear, I thought they did something to you. So we scolded them and chased them out. Shen Xiaojia lowered her head, not daring to look at Qin Feiyang. That's it? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. With a thought, 2 women immediately appeared next to him. They were Mermaid Princess and Fire Lotus. Greetings, lords. Shen Milan bowed at once. You don't have to do this. Yes, we should be the ones apologizing to you. We were too abrupt at that time, and we might have scared you. Sorry. Regardless of whether it was the Mermaid Princess or the Fiery Lotus, they both behaved gracefully and politely. Don't mention it. Shen Milan quickly waved his hand. That, Shen Xiaojia gathered her courage and walked to the 2 of them. She lowered her head and said, Sisters, I was a little confused at that time. I really didn't mean to drive you away. I apologize to you now and admit my mistake. The 2 of them looked at each other and smiled. It's okay. You're also worried about your brother Gu Feng. Besides, thanks to you and Dazhuang for taking care of him all these years, we should thank you. Mermaid Princess walked forward and gently held Shen Xiaojia's hand, comforting her softly. You really don't blame me? Shen Xiaojia asked timidly. I really don't blame you. Mermaid Princess smiled. What a cute girl. That's good. Shen Xiaojia heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, then can I call you sister-in-law? Of course. Mermaid Princess nodded. Then can I call you sister? Shen Xiaojia looked at Fire Lotus again. Yes. Fire Lotus smiled. Next. Mermaid Princess and Fire Lotus did not return to the Black Tortoise realm either. Madman and White-Eyed Wolf also called Zhua Shaoxian and Fire Dance out. Everyone had been cultivating all this time, and when they were fighting against the Scandinavian kingdom, everyone had been tensed up, so they could take this opportunity to relax. The enthusiasm and kindness of the villagers quickly moved them. Now they finally understood why Qin Feiyang liked this small village so much. It was because the people here had the most simple side. During this period, with the help of Qin Feiyang and the others, Shen Xiaojia successfully opened the first few doors of potential. Because her cultivation just happened to be at the 9 Star Wars sect. Seeing the doors of potential successfully open, the entire village was overjoyed. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. In addition to the 5 days that Qin Feiyang spent to repair the Western continent, 12 days had passed since the battle with the king and the others. The creatures of the Western continent had all returned, including the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. And now everyone knew about the battle between Qin Feiyang and the others and the Divine Kingdom. As expected. Knowing these things, especially knowing that the king was defeated by Qin Feiyang, the morale of the Sky Cloud realm instantly soared by a large margin. Now in the Sky Cloud realm, everyone was no stranger to the king. He was the ruler of the Divine Kingdom, the strongest. But now, even the strongest person of the Divine Kingdom was defeated by Qin Feiyang. Didn't that mean that the Sky Cloud realm already had the capital to contend with the Divine Kingdom? So, not only the morale, but the fame and prestige of Qin Feiyang and the others also increased once again. In the past, the most prestigious people in the Sky Cloud realm were the Feather Emperor, Xue Zhu, Little Rabbit, Dragon King, Feng Ho, and the Qilin Master. But now, it had become Qin Feiyang and the others. The older generation like the Feather Emperor couldn't hide their brilliance. In addition, the Divine Kingdom didn't make any other movements in the past 10 days. And the friendly competition in the land of the buried gods had also stopped. The hundreds of thousands of young talents of the Divine Kingdom had already returned to the Divine Kingdom under the leadership of Old Wu that day. Perhaps from the beginning, they didn't intend to take out these so-called rewards. It was completely a bait to lure Mu Tianyang and the others out. On this day, Qin Feiyang and the others gathered together with the villagers and had a happy breakfast. Then it was time to say goodbye. No one forced Qin Feiyang and the others to stay. Because they all knew that this group of people were carrying a heavy responsibility on their shoulders. Moreover, they were protecting the entire Sky Cloud realm, not just the Shen family village. After watching Qin Feiyang and the others leave, Shen Mulan shook his head and sighed. I really didn't expect that our Shen family village would have such luck to meet such a noble person. Yes. The elders of the village were filled with emotion. Little Jia, you must work hard. Not to mention anything else, they helped you open the door of potential. You can't let them down. Shen Xiaojia's parents looked at Shen Xiaojia very seriously and reminded her. I will. Shen Xiaojia nodded. Dezhuang, you have to work hard too. And you guys, Shen Mulan looked at the youngsters in the village and said, in the past, I didn't dare to think about it. But now, it's different. We have our own spirit veins and crystal veins. We have a time array that lasts 5,000 years a day. We also have a divine pill that can open the door of potential. I hope that all of you can work hard and become people like Qin Feiyang and the others in the future. Yes. The group of young people led by Shen Dazhuang roared one after another. Shen Mulan nodded, then glanced at everyone in the village and said in a deep voice, there's one more thing that you must remember. No one can leak out the time array and the divine pill that opens the door of potential. Even if someone threatens you with their life, you must rot in your stomach. Understood. The villagers nodded one after another. Everyone understood the principle of being guilty of possessing a treasure. Chapter 40. Demon Palace. After the great battle, peace was restored here. Suddenly, a space-time tunnel appeared. Qin Feiyang and the others walked out. Seeing this familiar scene, they couldn't help but smile. Qin Feiyang? Madman. Golden-winged Wolf King. The great elder guarding the gate was overjoyed when he saw Qin Feiyang and the others. He immediately left the barrier and greeted them. Greetings, great elder. Qin Feiyang bowed. Sir, don't, I can't accept it. The great elder waved his hand in fear. The strong were respected. Although Qin Feiyang, Madman, and the Ingrate were disciples of the Devil Palace in name, with their current status, not to mention him, the first elder, even the palace master, Elder Hua, and Chu Yun would have to greet them respectfully. Why are you so tacky? Just like before, just call us by our names. Sir, this kind of address is really not suitable for us, it's too polite. Qin Feiyang smiled. The great elder looked at Qin Feiyang, who had a sincere face, and suddenly shook his head and laughed. As expected. No matter how strong these young people became, their personalities wouldn't change at all. Isn't that so? Back then, they personally promised that no matter what, they would always be disciples of the Demon Palace. As the great elder of the Demon Palace, how can you bow to your disciples? Accompanied by a hoarse laugh, Elder Hua, Hall Master, and Chu Yun walked up to the sky step by step with a smile in their eyes. Hearing this, the great elder shook his head and smiled bitterly. In the current sky cloud realm, only Elder Hua and the others dared to be so unrestrained in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. Master. Fire Lotus walked up. Good. Elder Hua nodded with a smile on his face. At this moment, many disciples had already heard the news and came out. When they saw Fire Lotus calling Master Hua, their faces were filled with surprise. Elder Hua actually took in a disciple. Moreover, so beautiful. She was like a goddess. Suddenly, everyone then noticed the mermaid princess beside Qin Feiyang, and they were stunned at first sight. She should be Qin Feiyang's wife. So beautiful. This senior brother Qin really has good luck with women. And Fire Dance. She's still an outstanding beauty. Wait. Why does the woman standing beside senior brother Feng Zi look so familiar? Are you blind? That's Zhuo Tianxing's daughter, Zhuo Shaoxian. Back then, because of Zhuo Shaoxian, they caused quite a stir in the eastern continent. Right. That's her. I was wondering why she looked so familiar. I remember back then, she was still a little girl. I didn't expect that she would become so beautiful now. Just kidding. Do you think our senior brother Crazy would take a fancy to an ordinary woman? Everyone discussed in low voices. He had heard of it. Madman grinned, looked at Zhuo Shaoxian, and said proudly, "You bitch, did you hear that? It's your fortune to be with me. Is that so?" Zhuo Shaoxian looked at him with a smile. Her hand, which was hidden by her side, was mercilessly grabbing Madman's arm. Madman gritted his teeth in pain. However, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he could only desperately endure it. Elder Hua saw everything with his eyes. He wanted to laugh in his heart. The reincarnation of the Blood Demon King was actually so afraid of his wife. However, it was good that someone was controlling him. Cough. Elder Hua coughed dryly and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. He said with a smile, "It's not easy for you to come back. You have to take good care of these junior brothers and sisters." What do you mean? Madman looked at Elder Hua suspiciously. Don't play dumb. Elder Hua rolled his eyes at him. I'm not playing dumb. I really don't know what you mean. Madman frowned. Nonsense. Of course I'm imparting the Tao and explaining the secrets of the ultimate profound meaning to everyone. Elder Hua was speechless. Wait. Madman quickly interrupted Elder Hua and said angrily, didn't I explain it last time? Wasn't that a few decades ago? Elder Hua said with a smile. Is there a difference? Madman rolled his eyes. Imparting the Tao was really tiring. Even if he was beaten to death, he did not want to do it a second time. Senior brother Madman, you can't do this. We've been looking forward to your arrival. Yes. Although you guys explained it very carefully last time, there are still many questions that I don't understand. Why don't you guys talk about it again? The disciples below were all eager. Not to mention the disciples of the Demon Hall, even the management and elders were looking forward to it. This matter, little Qin Zi, you've already comprehended the ultimate profound meaning of the law of life and death. You go. Madman pulled Zhuo Shaoxian and was about to leave. Where are we going? White-eyed wolf grabbed him. Cough, cough. Madman coughed and said, we're going to the western continent to visit father-in-law. I'm going too. I haven't seen Zhuo Tiansheng and Lu Jingyuan for so many years. I really miss them. White-eyed wolf opened a space-time tunnel, then pulled their women and ran in without looking back. Looking at this scene, the corner of Elder Hua's mouth kept twitching. Wasn't it just imparting the Tao? Why did it look like they were going to the execution ground? The disciples below also had a trace of disappointment on their faces. Young master. At this moment, Pei Tianhong and the others flew up. Looking at this group of people, Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with gratification. He smiled and said, I heard that you guys have improved a lot these years. Not bad. Wang Changyuan scratched his head. Young master. Will the friendly competition continue? The second commander asked suspiciously. Probably not. Qin Feiyang shook his head. How can this be? Hearing this, the second commander said angrily, with the demon ancestor's strength, he can definitely get first place and obtain the inheritance of the 3 strongest laws. The divine kingdom is so shameless. What can you do? Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. I'm not strong enough. If I'm strong enough, see how I'll settle the score with them. The second commander snorted. Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment, then gave him a thumbs up and praised, You're ambitious. I'm joking. Don't take it seriously. With my little strength, it's not enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. The second commander laughed embarrassedly. Feiyang, Frenzy and White-Eyed Wolf ran away. You can't run away again. Look at the junior brothers and sisters below, they're still looking forward to it. Elder Hua looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked. The disciples standing inside the barrier were indeed looking at him with anticipation. However, the ultimate profound meaning he had grasped was not comprehensive enough. Moreover, if he continued to explain like this, it would indeed take too much time. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang looked at Elder Hua and asked, Does the Demon Palace have an inheritance place? No. Elder Hua shook his head. I have an idea. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, then looked at Elder Hua, Chu Yun, and the palace master and said, If you guys don't object, I suggest that we build a place of inheritance in the Demon Palace. At that time, we can seal our understanding and insights of the various laws and profound meanings in the place of inheritance. That's a good idea. The 3 of them looked at each other and their eyes lit up. Qin Feiyang laughed, This way, not only will we be able to save time, the Demon Palace will also be able to continue to be passed down in the future. I agree. Elder Hua nodded. I agree too. Chu Yun said. This was because using this method of inheritance was even more useful than imparting knowledge. No matter how detailed you were when imparting knowledge, there were still many things that were difficult to understand. After all, there was an old saying that went like this: it could only be understood but not explained. However, if one used the method of inheritance to pass down their insights and understanding of the laws and profound meanings to others, it would be different. This was because these insights contained your comprehension of the laws. For example, the ultimate profound meaning of the laws of life and death. If it wasn't for the divine king of primal chaos passing down his insights to him, he probably wouldn't have been able to get started. Then let's get moving. Little Yun, immediately bring people to the back of the mountain to build the place of inheritance. This is the first place of inheritance of our demon palace. We have to do it well and make it look grand. Elder Hua smiled. Okay. Chu Yun nodded and shouted, 9 elders, follow me to the back of the mountain. Whoosh. Immediately, 9 figures soared into the sky and followed Chu Yun to the back of the mountain. Did everyone hear that? Our demon palace is about to have our own place of inheritance. And the place of inheritance that we build will be even more glorious than the places of inheritance of the 3 races in the future. Because at that time, with the help of your senior brother Qin, you will have all the insights of the various profound meanings and ultimate meanings. So you must work hard and not let down your senior brother Qin's efforts. Elder Hua looked at the disciples below and shouted. Yes. The disciples below were all excited. All right, then let's disperse. Don't crowd here. Go and improve your own strength. After all, there are conditions to enter the place of inheritance. As for what the conditions are, after this old man and the palace master decide on it, we will immediately let the elders announce it. Elder Hua chuckled. There are conditions? Everyone looked at each other. Of course there are conditions. After all, our demon palace's resources are limited. So you must work hard for this opportunity. Elder Hua said. Understood. The disciples nodded and then looked at Qin Feiyang. They bowed and said, thank you, senior brother Qin. Qin Feiyang smiled and waved his hand, no need to thank me. I only hope that in the future, everyone can contribute more to the sky cloud realm. After all, you are disciples of the demon palace and must shoulder the responsibility of protecting the world. We will definitely work hard. Everyone replied respectfully. Then follow us down for a walk. It seems that after so many years, you have never officially stepped into our demon palace? Elder Hua looked at Qin Feiyang, Mermaid Princess, Fire Lotus, and Li Feng. Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment. He carefully recalled the past and smiled, indeed, we have never entered the demon palace. Then let's go. Elder Hua smiled. After training outside for so long, it's about time. Return to the Black Tortoise world and enter seclusion. I hope that in this seclusion, you will be able to comprehend an ultimate law. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Pei Tianhong and the others. All right. Pei Tianhong nodded. An ultimate law, they were also looking forward to it. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the group back to the Black Tortoise world. He then led the Mermaid Princess, Li Feng, and Fire Lotus into the Demon Palace with Elder Hua and the Palace Master. Chapter 40-41. As the overlord of the Eastern Continent, the demonic hall was huge and majestic. It was divided into 5 regions. Outer, Inner, Core, Elders Hall, and Back Mountain. The outer, inner, and core regions were where the disciples lived. The Elders Hall was where the elders of the demonic hall lived. There were many elders in the demonic hall. The strongest were the 10 elders. Below them were the enforcement elders, deacon elders, and so on. There were tens of thousands of deacon elders in the demonic hall. They were in charge of the daily affairs of the demonic hall. The back mountain was the demonic hall's forbidden area. Since the demonic hall's herb fields, spirit veins, crystal veins, and treasury were all in the back mountain, apart from Elder Hua, the hall master, Chu Yun, and the first elder, even the 9 elders had to be approved to enter the back mountain. Elder Hua and the hall master usually guarded the back mountain. Of course. There was also the demonic hall's sovereign divine weapon. Following Elder Hua and the hall master, Qin Feiyang and the others entered the core disciple region. These core disciples were usually arrogant, but when they saw Qin Feiyang and the others, their eyes were filled with respect. They bowed from afar. There are more than 1 million core disciples in the demonic hall. Now, there are more than 1,000 core disciples who have comprehended the supreme profundity. Elder Hua chuckled. His face was filled with relief. Thinking back, they and the elders were the only ones who had comprehended the supreme profundity in the demonic hall. Not a single disciple had comprehended the supreme profundity. Not bad. Qin Feiyang smiled. It's all thanks to you. If it weren't for Frenzy and the others who came to impart knowledge, I'm afraid there wouldn't be a single core disciple now. Elder Hua shook his head. This is what we should do. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Also, ever since the Rogue Cultivator Alliance moved to the Western Continent, the Demonic Hall has become the only overlord of the Eastern Continent. Due to your influence, the young people of the Eastern Continent have been aiming to enter the Demonic Hall. To be able to become a disciple of the Demonic Hall is something that brings honor to your ancestors. Elder Hua shook his head. Our influence? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Not bad. You guys are disciples of our Devil Hall. Now that you guys are famous, our Devil Hall will naturally benefit from it. It's not just us from the Eastern Continent. The youths from the Southern Continent and the Northern Continent are all fighting to enter our Devil Hall. So now, the number of disciples in our Devil Hall has already reached 60 to 70 million. If not for the fact that the Demonic Palace is already unable to accommodate all of them, there would probably be over 100 million disciples by now. Elder Hua smiled bitterly. Just because of Qin Feiyang and the other two, their Demon Hall had reached an unprecedented level of glory. There's no need to be so exaggerated. Qin Feiyang, the Mermaid Princess, Fire Lotus, and Li Feng looked at each other and shook their heads with a bitter smile. I'm not exaggerating at all. It's not just our Devil Hall. It's the same for the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Because you and Madman are the personal disciples of the Vice Alliance leader and the Hall of the Exalted Hall Master. In short, right now, the prestige of the few of you has practically surpassed that of the Feather Emperor and the others. Elder Hua was filled with emotions. How many years had it been? It was hard to believe that he had actually grown to such an extent. Thinking back to the past, when Qin Feiyang and the others had just entered the Sky Cloud realm, whether it was the Demonic Palace or the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, there were many young people who were more powerful than them. For example, Yi Tian. Back then, he was a recognized genius in the Eastern Continent. But now, he had been left far behind by Qin Feiyang and the others. He didn't even have the chance to eat dust. There were even many young people who were stronger than Qin Feiyang and the others back then who were still worried about stepping into the Great Perfection Sovereign Realm and the Great Perfection Sovereign Realm. Qin Feiyang asked, what about the Divine Palace and the Sky Palace? Although He Zhongtian and the others have already joined you, they haven't developed as well as our Demonic Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Elder Hua shook his head. The Hall Master smiled and said, it's not that they haven't developed as well as us, but they're declining. Declining? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. That's right. The young people from the northern and southern continents have all racked their brains to join our Demonic Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Naturally, the Divine Palace and the Sky Palace have lost a lot of talents. Do you know what's the most important thing for forces like us? That's fresh blood. Without fresh blood, it's only a matter of time before we perish. Because of this, He Zhongtian and the others have come to talk to us more than once, asking us if we can give them a way out. Actually, our Demonic Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance aren't willing to see the Sky Palace and the Divine Palace become like this. But there's nothing we can do. If the young people from the two continents want to join us, we can't even stop them. If their talents are ordinary, we can still reject them. But if they're talented young people, how can we reject them? Who can bear to reject them? The hall master shook his head, his face filled with helplessness. Indeed. Who doesn't want geniuses? But if this continues, the 4 continents will lose their balance sooner or later. Once the balance is broken, disputes and battles will follow. It wasn't easy for the Sky Cloud realm to unite. We can't let it go to waste like this. Qin Feiyang was a little worried. We know that. But we have to respect the young people's decision. Since they chose our demonic palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, there's no reason to chase them away. This will make us seem too arrogant and unreasonable. Elder Hua said. Upon hearing this, Qin Feiyang nodded and said, this is indeed a problem that needs to be solved as soon as possible. It's actually very easy to solve. The mermaid princess pondered for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the mermaid princess. The reason why the young people from the southern and northern continents give up what's near and seek what's far away is because they feel that the demonic palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance are very close to you. Joining the demonic palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance will give them more opportunities and opportunities. The mermaid princess analyzed in an orderly manner. Yes. That's what they think. Elder Hua nodded. The mermaid princess smiled and said, to break this phenomenon, we just need to build a land of inheritance in the Divine Palace and the Sky Palace. That's right. Qin Feiyang slapped his head and looked at Elder Hua and the Hall Master. He smiled and said, if all 4 forces have their own land of inheritance, then they won't have to give up what's near and seek what's far away. The 2 of them looked at each other and pondered for a while before nodding and saying, that's true. But what if they insist on coming for you? After all, your relationship with the demonic palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance is the biggest reason. In other words, they're here because they admire you. If that's the case, the mermaid princess pondered for a while before looking at Qin Feiyang and saying, at most, you can just hold a nominal position in the Divine Palace and the Sky Palace. Nominal position? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. For example, the Deputy Hall Master. When you go to the Divine Palace and the Sky Palace and hold the position of Deputy Hall Master, won't this problem be solved? The mermaid princess smiled. Qin Feiyang looked at the mermaid princess in a daze and said with a smile, pretty smart. This is a good idea. The mermaid princess blushed slightly. I object. Elder Hua immediately said. Huh? Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess looked at Elder Hua in confusion. In the demonic palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, you're disciples. If you go to the Sky Palace and the Divine Palace, you'll become Deputy Hall Masters. The difference between a disciple and a Deputy Hall Master is not small. At that time, everyone will think that you'll focus on the Sky Palace and the Divine Palace. Then, the young people from the eastern and western continents might go to the Sky Palace and the Divine Palace. Elder Hua said. Qin Feiyang was stunned when he heard this. He frowned and said, wait, do we really have such great prestige now? Nonsense. Go outside and take a look. You're the wind vane now. Elder Hua was helpless. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He didn't expect that there would be such a problem. Then how about this? Li Feng looked at Qin Feiyang and suggested, you, Brother Feng Zi, and Brother Wolf will have a nominal position in the Divine Palace, Sky Palace, Demonic Palace, and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. I think you'll be Deputy Hall Masters since you don't care about anything anyway. That's fine. Mermaid Princess and Fire Lotus agreed. All right. As long as we can maintain the balance of the 4 continents. Qin Feiyang nodded. Since that's the case, I'll just be an honorary hall master. An honorary hall master will have to listen to me in the future. How embarrassing. The hall master chuckled. What else can I say? As long as you're happy. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. You're still not happy? Although you're just an honorary hall master, your position is above mine. You'll go from a disciple to an honorary hall master. That's a meteoric rise. Elder Hua pouted. Yes, yes, yes. I'm honored. Qin Feiyang nodded. Brat. Elder Hua scolded jokingly. He then turned to look at the hall master and smiled. I'll go look for He Zhongtian and ask them to start building a land of legacy. I'll go. You stay and accompany them. The hall master smiled. You're the hall master. How can I let you do it personally? Elder Hua waved his hand. Can you not laugh at me? In terms of seniority, I'm your junior. The hall master shook his head. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the others and smiled. Do as you wish. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. In fact, the biggest reason was that Elder Hua was very familiar with Qin Feiyang and the others. After touring the demonic palace, Elder Hua led Qin Feiyang and the others into the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. The mountains were stacked and the vegetation was lush. In the mountains, there were tens of thousands of herb fields of various sizes. Every herb was at least 10,000 years old. They were overflowing with light and auspicious qi. The energy of the crystal veins and spirit veins turned into white mist and filled the mountains. It made this place look like a paradise. So many. Li Feng looked at this scene in shock. There are so many disciples. If we don't get more, how can it be enough for them? Elder Hua shook his head. Li Feng frowned. It's a little difficult to establish a force. It's not difficult to establish it, but it's difficult to defend it. Qin Feiyang smiled. That's right. It's just like a family business. It's not difficult to build a family business. For example, as long as we want to, we can easily build a huge family business. However, to protect this family business, we have to put in a lot of effort. In short, it's tiring. Fire Lotus shook his head. Chapter 40-42. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he turned to look at Fire Lotus and teased, Are you indirectly complaining to me? Why should I complain to you? Fire Lotus looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang said, Helping me manage the Black Tortoise world, isn't that the same as helping me protect my family business? If I really thought it was hard, I would have quit long ago. Would you chase me out of the Black Tortoise world? Let's talk about it later. Isn't it Pai Lupi and Theta Wang managing it now? I have more free time than anyone else. Fire Lotus could not help but roll her eyes. Huh, Qin Feiyang laughed heartily. It had been a long time since they had gathered together and had a good chat. Not long after, Qin Feiyang and the others finished touring the back mountain and saw the land of inheritance that was being built at the center of the back mountain. Elder Hua's residence was at the peak of the mountain next to it. In other words, the land of inheritance was right under Elder Hua's nose. At the peak of the mountain, there was a simple and unadorned building. It was 2 stories tall and had been there for many years. However, it was very clean and neat. Outside the building, there was a courtyard where various precious herbs were planted. One could smell a strong medicinal fragrance from afar. Elder Hua led them into the courtyard. At the side of the courtyard, there was a stone table and 6 stone stools. The herbs around them swayed in the wind and were full of vitality. They sat around the table. Qin Feiyang took out the ancient dragon god tea and tea set. As he brewed the tea, he scanned the courtyard and smiled, Your place is not bad. It's not bad, but it lacks a bit of personality. It's too calm. Elder Hua chuckled. Understood. Qin Feiyang nodded. What do you understand? Elder Hua looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Aren't you saying this because you want us to drink tea and chat with you more often in the future? Elder Hua laughed and said, You know me well, but speaking of which, what are your plans next? Next, Qin Feiyang brewed the tea and poured them out one by one. Then, he picked up the teacup and tasted it while muttering to himself. Elder Hua and the others also picked up their teacups and drank as they silently watched Qin Feiyang. A short while later, Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "To the Divine Kingdom." She really wouldn't stop until she was shocked to death. When Elder Hua heard this, his arm trembled slightly, and the tea in the cup spilled out. Go to the Divine Kingdom? Wasn't that just courting death? Although Qin Feiyang could defeat the king, who knew how many old antiques there were in the Divine Kingdom? I understand your concerns. But now, we have no choice but to go. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Why must I go? Could it be that someone has been captured by the Divine Kingdom and needs your rescue? Elder Hua was bewildered. That's not it. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said with a smile, in the battle with the king, I obtained the inheritance of 15 ultimates, but, at that moment. Qin Feiyang explained the situation in detail. Elder Hua was stunned when he heard this. Although everyone was talking about how Qin Feiyang defeated the monarch, who would have known that it would be so tragic? In other words, you have to go to the Divine Kingdom and kill the Sky Prides to get these inheritances? After calming down, Elder Hua asked. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded. If we can really get these inheritances and create a few experts who can integrate with the will of heaven, our Sky Cloud Realm's chances of winning will indeed increase a lot. But it's too dangerous. If you go, it's tantamount to sending sheep to the tiger's den. Why don't you go to Long Chen and Long Qin and ask them to help you break the seal? Elder Hua frowned. That's impossible. At that time, White-Eyed Wolf had already asked Long Qin for help. Moreover, this is Ice Dragon's order. Long Chen and Long Qin don't dare to go against it. All these years, the siblings have already done enough for the Sky Cloud Realm. We can't make things difficult for them. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Elder Hua was also a reasonable person. Since Qin Feiyang said so, the Longchen siblings must have their own difficulties. As a person, one shouldn't make things difficult for others just to make things easier for oneself. That was immoral. All right. No matter what you do, this old man will support you, but you must be careful. Elder Hua warned. Although no one had been to the Divine Kingdom before, it was obvious that it was a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. If one wasn't careful, they might fall into eternal damnation. Qin Feiyang nodded. Let's not talk about these annoying things. Elder Hua waved his hand and looked at Li Feng with a smile. Look, your Qin Dage, Brother Feng Zi, and Wolf King have all found their other halves. What about you? Li Feng was stunned. In the next moment, his face couldn't help but turn red. He didn't expect Elder Hua to suddenly ask such a question. Elder Hua said, My demon palace still has many outstanding girls. Do you want this old man to take care of them for you? Li Feng was stunned. When he came back to his senses, he quickly waved his hand and said, No need, no need. I've never thought about this. Besides, isn't Sister Fire Lotus still single? As her master, you should take care of things for her. Brat, you even learned how to shift the blame. Fire Lotus glared at Li Feng. Li Feng chuckled. But when Elder Hua heard this, he immediately patted his head and looked at Fire Lotus. Yes, this old man forgot about you. No, this old man must take care of her. Cough, cough. Fire Lotus coughed and said helplessly, Master, can you stop thinking about it? Why do you always think about it? This old man has dedicated his life to the demon palace and has no children. As this old man's disciple, whether or not this old man can help my little grandson depends on you. Elder Hua said. This, senior sister Chu Yun is also your disciple, right? You should go find her. Fire Lotus also quickly changed the topic. Her? Forget it. Just like this old man, she's also devoted to the demon palace. So I still have to count on you. However, in the entire sky cloud realm, there's really no one who's worthy of this old man's clever disciple. This girl is too outstanding, and that's also a problem. Elder Hua shook his head, his face full of worry. Fire Lotus was speechless. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "Actually, I agree. You're also fooling around?" Fire Lotus's face darkened. "Is this fooling around? Look at your age, you're old enough to be my ancestor. I'm already married, but you're still single. What's wrong with that?" Qin Feiyang laughed. "Who's your ancestor? Get lost." Fire Lotus rolled her eyes at him. Li Feng nodded seriously and said, "But really, there's really no one in the sky cloud realm who's worthy of Big Sister Fire Lotus." "What big? Call me Big Sister." Fire Lotus glared at him. "Huh," Li Feng laughed dryly. Mermaid Princess suddenly said, "Long Chen and that mysterious young man should be good, right? Sister-in-law, are you fooling around too?" Fire Lotus felt powerless. Why couldn't she turn the question around when it came to her? "I'm worried about you." Mermaid Princess grabbed Fire Lotus's hand. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and nodded. Long Chen is definitely a good person. As for that young man, I don't know his identity yet, so I'm a little worried. But Long Chen is Ice Dragon's son. I'm afraid, Li Feng was a little worried. He's Ice Dragon's son, but he is him, and Ice Dragon is Ice Dragon. We're not unreasonable people. We won't vent our anger on Ice Dragon on him. Qin Feiyang shook his head. If that's what you want to say, then I have no objections. Li Feng smiled. I beg you, can you stop? Fire Lotus couldn't help it. If they continued to talk like this, she was afraid that she would have to bring gifts to propose marriage. Wait. Propose marriage? That's not right. I'm a woman. If you want to propose marriage, it should be a man. Come and propose marriage for me. What are you thinking? Propose marriage? Why don't you just go straight to the bridal chamber? What nonsense. Okay. I won't talk about it anymore. When you meet someone who can make you fall in love at first sight, we'll talk about it seriously. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Elder Hua. It's all thanks to the people from the Shen family village that I was able to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death. In the future, if there are any youngsters from the Shen family village who enter the Devil Hall, please take care of them. Is the Shen family village very big? Elder Hua was doubtful. Not big, only about 100 households. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then the chances of them entering the Devil Hall must be very small. Because the Rogue Cultivator Alliance is in the Western Mainland. If they want to go, they'll go to the Western Mainland. However, if they really come, I'll see what I can do. However, if this person is treacherous, cunning, and wicked beyond redemption, then this old man will not give you any face. Elder Hua said. Of course. For the good, we have to protect. But if he's evil, he must be eliminated. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. It seems that you haven't lost your principles because of your gratitude. Elder Hua smiled. My principles can't be changed at any time. Qin Feiyang smiled and lowered his head to look at the land of legacy. Chu Yun and the 9 elders should be able to build it in the evening. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feiyang looked at Li Feng and said, Go to the dragons, Feng people, and Kirin clan. Why? Li Feng was doubtful. Didn't Elder Hua boast to his disciples that when the land of legacy is completed, it will have everything, be it the ultimate meaning or the ultimate meaning? We can't let him lose face in front of his disciples. So, go and invite the reclusive old antiques of the 3 major clans. Ask them to do us a favor and leave their insights and understandings here. Remember, you must invite all 3 major clans. However, you can't invite the same person. Qin Feiyang smiled. Among these reclusive old antiques, there must be someone who had grasped the same ultimate meaning. Therefore, in such a situation, just one person was enough. I see. Li Feng nodded in realization, but then he frowned and said, but now, I don't think we need their help. We basically all have ultimate laws. As for ordinary laws, Li Zhongsheng, Xiao Shui, Old Poison, Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, the various commanders, the demon ancestor, and Mu Qing all have grasped the ultimate meaning of ordinary laws. As long as we invite everyone here, it shouldn't be too far off. There was really no need to invite the old antiques of the three major clans. At that time, he would owe them a favor. Of course, I know this. I have other intentions for inviting the three major clans here. Qin Feiyang smiled. What intentions? Li Feng was suspicious. The mermaid princess and the others also looked at him curiously. Now that I have comprehended the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death and defeated the king, they must be even more afraid of me. So, I want to take this opportunity to build a relationship with them. And this time, allowing them to come here and leave behind their knowledge of inheritance is also a good thing that will be passed down for generations. Who knows, they might even thank me. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Build a relationship? Li Feng was slightly stunned and puzzled. Is that necessary? Do we still need to ask them for anything now? I don't think so. It seems that they are the ones who are asking us. You can't say that. The atmosphere can't be too tense. The heritage of the three major clans is still very terrifying. We can't underestimate them. Moreover, we still need them to continue to contribute to the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasury in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled. So, you are thinking about their treasury? Li Feng chuckled and opened a space-time passage. Qin Feiyang said, be polite. After all, we are asking for their help. Also, ask the old ancestor, the Feather Emperor, to come. It seems that he is the only one in the Heavenly Cloud realm who has grasped the ultimate meaning of the law of nothingness. Okay. Chapter 40-43. You've really helped me gain face. I'm afraid that after this, the three major races will have to give me some face in the future. Elder Hua chuckled. This is also my other intention. We want the antiques of the three major races to see my relationship with you with their own eyes. This way, they won't dare to cause trouble in the Demon Hall in the future. Even if they have such thoughts, they won't dare to do it openly. Qin Feiyang smiled. Thank you. Although Elder Hua had a lot to say in his heart, he couldn't say it out loud. He could only express his gratitude. Although the Demon Hall had helped Qin Feiyang and the others in the past, with the care that Qin Feiyang and the others had given the Demon Hall over the years, they could have repaid it long ago. But now, Qin Feiyang was still selflessly helping them. How could such a young man not be liked? In the evening, the land of inheritance was finally completed. A giant mountain over 1,000 zhang tall was slashed in half. The flat ground was paved with black bricks, with stone statues standing on them. What's the meaning of this? Elder Hua led Qin Feiyang and the others to the land of inheritance and looked at the stone statues with suspicion. There were probably at least 20 stone statues in the shape of humans. But the strange thing was that these stone statues didn't have faces. Chu Yun walked over and wiped the sweat from her forehead. She explained, this is to make it easier to distinguish them in the future. Each stone statue here only seals the insights of one type of law because I feel that it's a little messy to put them all together. This arrangement is not bad. Separate the seal and it's clear at a glance. In the future, when the disciples of the Demon Hall come to the land of inheritance, they can directly walk to the corresponding stone statue and receive the inheritance of the law insights. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. It's good. Elder Hua nodded and mumbled. He asked suspiciously, then why don't these stone statues have faces? I don't know who will come later to leave behind the law insights, so I didn't carve the faces of the stone statues for the time being. Chu Yun said. Why must there be faces? Li Feng looked at Elder Hua and Chu Yun suspiciously. This is definitely necessary. At the very least, I have to let the disciples know who left behind these insights. Only then will they be grateful and remember. Elder Hua said. I agree. Because this will satisfy the vanity of those old antiques of the three races even more. Leaving their idols here will definitely make them happier. Qin Feiyang smiled. I also saved one for you. Chu Yun brought Qin Feiyang to the center of the land of inheritance. There was a particularly tall stone statue here. It was much taller than the other stone statues. Furthermore, the other several tens of stone statues were all surrounding this one stone statue. It was like a king standing in the center, looking down on the crowd. Qin Feiyang looked at the stone statue, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Don't tell me that this was specially prepared for me? Of course. Chu Yun nodded. That won't do. The Feather Emperor will come later. How would my stone statue dare to stand in the center? Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand. If his stone statue stood in the center, and the stone statues of the Feather Emperor and the others stood around, wouldn't it show that he was the leader? You're afraid of this? Chu Yun covered her mouth and laughed. You still have to respect your elders. Qin Feiyang wiped his sweat. He was just a junior. How could he be qualified to stand in the center of the land of inheritance? Chu Yun said, It's good that you have such thoughts. However, your life and death law is the most powerful law in the world. It should be at the center. No. Absolutely not. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and glanced at the land of inheritance. He pointed at a stone statue in the corner and said, This one. Don't carve my face on it because I'm not those old antiques of the three races. I don't have such vanity. I'm impressed. Okay, as you wish. Chu Yun nodded. Others would be overjoyed to encounter such a good thing, but this kid was not willing to do so. Buzz. At this moment, a space-time passage opened in the sky, and a group of people walked out. The leader was the Feather Emperor. The 4 guardian beasts were also there. Frenzy, White-Eyed Wolf, Fire Dance, and Zhuo Xian also followed. As for the others, there were the old antiques of the Feng people, the Qilin race, and the dragons. They were all very familiar faces. I'm sorry to trouble you all to come here personally. Elder Hua, Chu Yun, and the 9 elders immediately went up with an apologetic face. One had to know. These people in front of them were either overlords or patriarchs of their races. It was difficult to meet them normally, let alone come to help. Moreover, they left behind their insights. Even the juniors of their races couldn't get their hands on the insights of laws. Although the Demon Hall was the overlord of the Eastern continent, it was not worth mentioning compared to the 3 races. If they were to invite them to the Demon Hall, they would be disdainful even if they were to invite them to the Demon Hall. You're welcome. The Feather Emperor waved his hand and looked down at Qin Feiyang. He scolded with a smile, You little rascal, you're too good at torturing people. It hasn't been long since you imparted your knowledge, and now you're here for the land of inheritance? This is for the good of the Sky Cloud realm. Qin Feiyang smiled. If we didn't know that you're doing this for the good of the Sky Cloud realm, do you think we would come? The Feather Emperor rolled his eyes and stepped into the land of inheritance. The others quickly followed. Azure Dragon glanced at the land of inheritance and said with a hoarse smile, It seems that everything is ready. Yes. We've been waiting for you all. Qin Feiyang smiled and then looked at the old antiques of the 3 races. He cupped his hands and said, Thank you, seniors. I, Qin Feiyang, will remember this favor. It's okay. You invited us here because you think highly of us. It's our great honor. The old antiques of the 3 races waved their hands and their faces were full of smiles. Originally, when Li Feng went to invite them, they already felt very surprised and honored. But they didn't expect that Qin Feiyang would say that he owed them a favor. What kind of person was Qin Feiyang now? He was the true number one person in the sky cloud realm. Even the king of the divine kingdom was defeated by him. If they could get a favor from him, it would definitely bring them unexpected benefits in the future. Then I'll have to trouble you. Qin Feiyang was polite throughout. After he finished speaking, he retreated to the side and then looked at Elder Hua with a smile in his eyes. The old antiques of the three races were really touched by this invitation. This old man will go first. The white-haired old man of the Feng people glanced at the land of inheritance and stepped forward. He landed in front of a stone statue on the periphery. He raised his hand and a divine light swept out from between his eyebrows and merged with the stone statue's glabella. These people were all old and wise. Looking at the layout of the land of inheritance, they knew that the stone statue in the center was for Qin Feiyang's law of life and death. The 8 stone statues in the second circle were also for the strongest law. The ordinary law was naturally for the dozen or so stone statues in the outer circle. The 9 elders followed beside the white-haired old man and quickly engraved the old man's face on the stone statue. You still want to leave this old man's statue? The white-haired old man was stunned. Of course. We have to let the future generations remember your kindness. The second elder chuckled. When the white-haired old man heard this, the smile on his face became even brighter. The other old antiques were the same. It was indeed a good thing to be immortalized. Why did you come back? At the same time, Qin Feiyang turned his head and glanced at the white-eyed wolf and madman. The white-eyed wolf chuckled and said, "How can we not be part of such a good thing like being immortalized?" That's right. As long as we leave our law of life here, the future generations will admire us for the rest of their lives. Just thinking about it makes me feel awesome. Madman chuckled. Ah. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them in astonishment. He really couldn't tell that these two guys liked fame so much. Let me tell you. We've already discussed it. I'll leave behind 2 law of life, and little madman will leave behind 2. When the 4 stone statues are placed here and the disciples of the demon palace see that we actually left behind 2 law of life, wouldn't they worship us to death? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Qin Feiyang was speechless. At this moment, one of the dragons walked out and landed in front of the stone statue that Qin Feiyang had reserved. Chu Yun was about to stop him and explain the situation, but Elder Hua stopped her. Chu Yun immediately looked at Elder Hua suspiciously. Elder Hua glanced at Qin Feiyang, who was chatting with the white-eyed wolf, and chuckled. Don't worry about him. I'm going to get him to the stone statue in the center. Chu Yun couldn't help but laugh. Don't make a sound. Elder Hua also secretly instructed the Fire Lotus, the Mermaid Princess, and Li Feng. The 3 of them looked at each other and couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. The law of life is complete. Chu Yun looked at the Feather Emperor and cupped her hands. Lord Feather Emperor, thank you. The Feather Emperor smiled faintly and landed in front of a stone statue in the second circle. A divine light immediately flashed from his forehead and merged with the stone statue's forehead. It's complete? Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment. He hurriedly looked at the stone statues and discovered that the Feather Emperor was standing in front of the second circle of stone statues. He was immediately stunned and shouted, "Old ancestor, the centermost stone statue is specially reserved for you." The Feather Emperor was stunned and looked at Chu Yun and Elder Hua suspiciously. It's fine. Chu Yun waved her hand and went forward to personally carve the Feather Emperor's face on the stone statue. Don't say. After the face was carved on the stone statue, the entire stone statue immediately became different. It was as if a king had been born and emitted a monstrous aura. That's not right. Qin Feiyang noticed that the dozen or so stone statues outside all had faces carved on them. The stone statue that he had reserved was also carved with the faces of the ancient dragons. What's going on? Didn't we just chat for a while? Why is it taken by someone else? Why didn't you inform him? Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and turned to look at Elder Hua. When he saw the smile on Elder Hua's face, he immediately understood that it was intentional. It's my turn. When the Feather Emperor returned, the white-eyed wolf rushed forward and left his experience of the law of time and space on the two stone statues' foreheads. Not only did it include the ultimate profundity and supreme profundity, but it also included the first to second profundity. After he was done, he turned to look at Chu Yun and urged, "Hurry up and carve my peerless face on it." The corner of Chu Yun's mouth twitched. She soared into the sky and began to carve the white-eyed wolf's face. The corner of the eye is wrong. It's a little small, wait. The mouth is wrong too. It's a little big, do you know how to do it or not? No, the nose bridge is too low. Is my nose bridge that ugly? Looking at the white-eyed wolf who had been chattering non-stop, Chu Yun was annoyed. She immediately retreated and said, "Do it yourself. You're not happy just because I said a few words. What kind of attitude is that?" The white-eyed wolf was dissatisfied. "Say it again." Chu Yun clenched her fists tightly, and her veins bulged. Cough cough, the white-eyed wolf shrunk his neck and coughed dryly. He snorted coldly and said, "A good man doesn't fight with a woman. Do it yourself." After saying that, he soared into the sky and carefully carved stroke by stroke. This was the first time they had seen him do something so seriously. Chapter 40-44. After a long time. The white-eyed wolf finally came to an end. Needless to say, when the face of the stone statue was carved, it really displayed his style to the fullest. Next was the frenzy, who left behind his insights on the law of destruction and law of death. The stone statue was also personally carved by him, and it was quite accurate. It was like the overlord of heaven and earth, looking down on the 9 heavens. The white-eyed wolf's spacetime and law of time, the frenzy's law of destruction and law of death, Feather Emperor's law of nothingness. Now, only the karma law, devour law, life and death law were left. Fire Dance left behind her insights on the karma law, and the stone statue was next to the white-eyed wolf's stone statue. The masked Shura left behind his insights on the devour law. As for the law of life and death, it naturally fell on Qin Feiyang's head. "Please." Chu Yun looked at him with a smile. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. Now, there were only 2 stone statues left. One was in the second circle. One was in the middle. There was no room for choice anymore. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up," Feather Emperor urged. "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded and walked to the front of the stone statue, leaving behind his insights on the law of life and death. Looking at the insights on the law of life and death, everyone present couldn't help but reveal a trace of desire. However, although this insight on the law of life and death contained all of Qin Feiyang's insights on the law of life and death, the first condition to obtain this insight was to first comprehend the law of life and death. Of course, it was the same for other laws. If one didn't grasp this law, then they wouldn't be able to obtain the corresponding insights. The other laws were still okay, but the law of life and death that surpassed all other laws, in the entire sky cloud realm, only Qin Feiyang had comprehended it. One could imagine how difficult it was. Sigh. There were some things that couldn't be envied. While everyone was sighing, Elder Hua personally went forward and carved his face on the 2 stone statues of Qin Feiyang. "Elder Hua, didn't we agree?" Qin Feiyang's face was full of helplessness. Did this old man agree? Elder Hua looked at him. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. "Didn't Chu Yun previously? She said that as long as I am happy to do it. This is what little Yun agreed to. This old man did not agree to it." Elder Hua smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang shook his head with a bitter smile. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. The Feather Emperor looked at the 2 of them suspiciously and asked, "What are you talking about?" This descendant of yours can't leave his name. Elder Hu briefly explained the situation. I see. The Feather Emperor smiled in understanding. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, this time, I support Elder Hua. Such a great achievement must be remembered. Great achievements? Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Wasn't this a little too exaggerated? Is there anything else? Feather Emperor asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. He looked at the old antiques and said with a smile, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, the Godly Palace, and the Heavenly Hall are also constructing their respective lands of inheritance. Therefore, I'll have to trouble everyone to work harder. They're all under construction? Was this discussed in advance? The old antiques of the various clans were stunned. You can say that we've discussed it before. Qin Feiyang nodded. All right. Since you've already spoken, how can we refuse? The white-haired old man from the Feng people chuckled. Thank you, thank you. Qin Feiyang cupped his fists and smiled. He then looked at Li Feng and said, let's go to the southern and northern continents first. Then, we'll go to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. All right. Li Feng waved his hand and a space-time tunnel opened. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Elder Hua and said with a smile, then we'll go first. You guys should quickly arrange for the more outstanding disciples to receive the inheritance first. All right. Elder Hua nodded. The third elder asked, Qin Feiyang, in that case, can us old fellows accept the inheritance insights here? The other elders' eyes lit up when they heard this. Of course. As long as Elder Hua, the Hall Master, and Chu Yun agree. Qin Feiyang smiled. Thank you, thank you. The 9 elders were overjoyed. As long as they could obtain the inheritance here, the demonic hall would definitely be able to produce many experts with ultimate profoundness in a short time. However, Qin Feiyang suddenly changed the topic and said, the heavenly tribulation of an ordinary law's ultimate profoundness is nothing. However, the heavenly tribulation of an ultimate law's ultimate profoundness is the same as the heavenly tribulation of a sovereign divine weapon. When you comprehend the ultimate law's ultimate profoundness, you can't directly undergo the tribulation because of a moment of excitement. You have to make arrangements in advance. Understood. The 9 elders nodded. Qin Feiyang was still a little worried. He turned to look at Elder Hua and said, if I'm in the sky cloud realm, you can come and find me. However, if I'm not, it's best to find Emperor Yu and the others and gather all the sovereign divine weapons in the sky cloud realm to help you pass the tribulation. Don't worry. I know what to do. Elder Hua smiled hoarsely. All right. Then, I wish you all the best in comprehending the ultimate law's ultimate profoundness. Qin Feiyang smiled and stepped into the space-time tunnel. Sky Palace. Temple. The land of inheritance had been constructed. The leaders of the 2 palaces personally led their people to wait at the entrance. Their eyes were filled with anticipation and joy. Temple. Shua. A space-time tunnel appeared. With He Zhongtian as the leader, tens of thousands of elders and countless disciples couldn't help but be shocked. Finally. Under everyone's gaze, Qin Feiyang and the others walked out of the space-time tunnel. Greetings, young lord. Greetings, Emperor Yu. Greetings, lords. He Zhongtian immediately led the elders forward and bowed. Qin Feiyang glanced at the disciples of temple below. Indeed, there were much fewer disciples than the demon palace. He then looked at He Zhongtian and secretly smiled. As the temple master of temple, don't call me young lord in the future. It will damage your dignity. No. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be able to keep my life, let alone open the gate of potential. I dare not forget this great kindness. Therefore, no matter what happens in the future, you will always be my young lord. He Zhongtian hurriedly transmitted his voice. The secret of the gate of potential would continue to be hidden. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh and said, as long as you're not afraid of losing face. How much is face worth? Moreover, serving you as my master is not losing face, but basking in your glory. He Zhongtian chuckled. Why didn't I realize before that you're so good at talking? The white-eyed wolf looked at him mockingly. The past is the past, now is the present. It can't be compared. He Zhongtian laughed dryly. All right. Bring us to the land of inheritance. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay. Lords, please. He Zhongtian hurriedly retreated to the side, letting Qin Feiyang and the others walk in front. Not long later, Qin Feiyang and the others entered the land of inheritance. It was almost exactly the same as the land of inheritance in the Demon Palace. Obviously. This was also discussed in advance. After leaving the inheritance experience, Qin Feiyang and the others didn't stay and immediately headed to the Sky Palace. Fire Lotus secretly said, Qin Dage, do you think our Black Tortoise world should also build a few land of inheritance? I have such plans. Qin Feiyang nodded. Although the current Black Tortoise world had grown a lot, it was still a long way from the Sky Cloud realm, let alone compared to the Divine Kingdom. So, whether it was the land of devils, the central continent, the western region, the northern region, or the southern region, they all had to build a land of inheritance. However, in comparison, he wanted the spirit vein and the crystal vein more. Because the spirit vein and the crystal vein were the foundation of a world. Since that's the case, I can't help much outside anyway. Why don't I return to the Black Tortoise world first and bring Pai Lupi and the others to build the land of inheritance? Fire Lotus secretly said. That's fine too. Qin Feiyang nodded. With a thought, Fire Lotus disappeared without a trace. After entering the Sky Palace and leaving the law experience, the group headed to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance without stopping. Although the Western continent had encountered a great calamity, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance had evacuated in time and didn't suffer any losses. Qin Feiyang also caught a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. For example, Zhang Deyuan, the Grand Elder, and the Grand Elder's granddaughter. The Black Dragon and Fire One also kept their promise and stayed in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. However, they were treated well. The Alliance Master and the others treated them as VIPs. After leaving the law experience behind, the Feather Emperor prepared to leave. But right at this moment. Feather Emperor, please wait. 3 figures appeared at the same time. They were the white-bearded old man, Huo Wenchang, and a patriarch of the dragons. What's wrong? The Feather Emperor raised his head and looked at the 3. The 3 landed in front of the Feather Emperor and bowed. Father, why are you here? Huo Wu looked at Huo Wenchang in confusion. Huo Wenchang smiled and said, I heard that the Devil Hall, Rogue Cultivator Alliance, Heavenly Palace, and Deity's Hall are all building a land of inheritance. Therefore, our 3 races discussed and built a land of inheritance for each of us. The 3 races naturally didn't want to miss out on such a good opportunity. This was especially true for the Feng people and the Qilin race. The dragons had Long Chen and Long Qin. They were stronger than before. The Qilin race was slightly better. At least they had Qi Shaoyun. As for the Feng people, although they had Huo Wu, she didn't have a good impression of the Feng people. The current Feng people didn't have much of a presence in the Sky Cloud realm. If they didn't work harder, they would be completely forgotten by the world. The white-eyed wolf said, in that case, you are also here to ask for our help? Yes. Huo Wenchang nodded. The white-bearded old man also looked at Qin Feiyang, the Feather Emperor, and the others. He pleaded, please help us. The Feather Emperor, the mad scientist, the white-eyed wolf, and the Master Jura didn't say anything. They turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said with a smile, since it's a good thing that benefits the Sky Cloud realm, we might as well be good people to the end and let this merit be fulfilled. Thank you. Huo Wenchang and the white-bearded old man were pleasantly surprised. The old ancestor of the dragons was also overjoyed. The mad scientist thought for a moment, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Since that's the case, then I'll let the blood demon race build a place of inheritance." Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. After an hour of running around, the three great races' places of inheritance also left behind all the law insights. Immediately after, they entered the blood demon race again. Because the blood demon race only received the news later, the place of inheritance hadn't been built yet. The old antiques of the various races volunteered to help. Another hour passed, and the blood demon race's place of inheritance was finally completed. 2 hours outside, but many years had passed in the Black Tortoise realm. The Devil's Land, Central Continent, Northern Domain, Southern Domain, and Eastern Domain's places of inheritance, Fire Lotus and the others had long been completed. They just happened to be done together. After leaving behind the law insights in the blood demon race, Qin Feiyang brought everyone into the Black Tortoise realm. It was the first time that the old antiques of the various races came to the Black Tortoise realm. Looking at the vast world in front of them, they were deeply shocked. With such a world, it would be difficult not to rise up. However, in the various places of inheritance of the Black Tortoise realm, there were no statues of these old antiques left behind. But before leaving, Qin Feiyang took out the law miniatures and gave a few to each of them. Giving them the law miniatures was more practical than leaving a stone statue in the place of inheritance. Therefore, not only did they not complain, but they were grateful. Chapter 40-45. In the Tea Garden. At this moment, everyone sitting here was on the same side. Feather Emperor chuckled and said, "This time, it's really a success." That's not right. The Heavenly Cloud Sea doesn't seem to have built a land of inheritance yet? Madman said. It's also being built. However, we don't need the help of the three races. When the time comes, you can just accompany us there. Azure Dragon laughed hoarsely. Then it's definitely our duty. Madman bared his teeth. Even the dragons, the Feng people, and the Kirin clan had agreed to help, let alone the Heavenly Cloud Sea. Qin Feiyang said suspiciously, "When I went to the Feng people just now, I found that the Feng people's time array is also 5,000 years a day. Whose masterpiece is this? Is there a need to think about it? It must be Brother Wolf. When you were in seclusion to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, he stayed in the Azure Wave Snow Mountain for a long time." Madman pursed his lips. Brother has no choice. Can I not agree to my future father-in-law's request? The white-eyed wolf's face was full of helplessness. You seem to be very wronged. Fire Lotus revealed a trace of displeasure. No. Father-in-law's request must be unconditionally agreed. The white-eyed wolf immediately pulled a smile. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. In the past, only Qin Feiyang could deal with the white-eyed wolf. Now, there was one more. But this was also good, lest he let his temper run wild. Suddenly, Madman asked, "Did Mu Qing come out of the soul-sealing valley?" It's been a whole day outside, 5,000 years in the Black Tortoise realm. He has already come out, but after coming out, he didn't return to the Devil's Land. Fire Lotus shook her head. Then where is he? Madman was curious. I've checked, he's hiding in the eastern region. He seems to have a lot of resentment towards you. Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. It doesn't matter. Anyway, with the blood oath, he won't dare to fall out with us before destroying the Divine Kingdom. As for the future, if he wants to fall out with us, why should we be afraid of him? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. If he dares to turn against me, I'll kill him right away. Madman sneered. We'll talk about it then. Qin Feiyang held the teacup and drank leisurely. He did not take Mu Qing's resentment to heart at all. A little while passed. The blood ancestor sent word that the heavenly cloud sea's land of inheritance had been completed. Immediately, the group set off for Sky Cloud Island. Because the land of legacy was on the other side of Sky Cloud Island. The land of inheritance wasn't just built for sea beasts, it was also built for the divine beasts of the land of buried gods. After all, it was now. The divine beasts of the land of buried gods all lived in the sea of heavenly clouds. The relationship between the Feather Emperor and the little rabbit was also very good, so there was no need to make such a clear distinction. After everything was settled, the mermaid princess, Fire Dance, Zhuo Shaoxian, and Li Feng entered the Black Tortoise world. The mermaid princess, Fire Dance, and Zhuo Shaoxian all went to receive the inheritance. Li Feng directly entered the ancient castle to fuse with the inheritance that Long Chen gave him. Yun Xiang and the master Jura stayed by the Feather Emperor's side. As for Qin Feiyang, Madman, and the White-Eyed Wolf, after bidding farewell to the Feather Emperor and the others, they once again descended on the dragon nest. This was because when they came to the dragon nest to leave their law insights, Long Chen had secretly sent them a message, telling them to come to the dragon nest to find him after they were done with their business. In the pavilion. In the hall. The four of them sat around a table. What's the matter? Madman drank wine while looking at Long Chen and asked. Back in the Western continent, didn't I say that I have some opinions about the king? But there were too many things at that time, so I called you here to talk about it. Long Chen held the teacup and smiled. What other opinions can you have about him? Madman was suspicious. No. Long Chen waved his hand and put down the teacup. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Brother Qin, you should have already noticed it. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, but I don't know if what I've noticed is the same as what you've noticed. Then I'll talk about it first. I feel that the king has his own difficulties. Long Chen said. Difficulties? Madman and the White-Eyed Wolf were taken aback. Yes. Back then, when the king was defeated by Qin Feiyang, he said that many times, we don't have a choice. Do you know what this means? It means that although he's the king of the divine kingdom, he has to listen to orders. Long Chen said with a smile. Listen to the orders of the king of the divine kingdom? Madman asked. Apart from him, who else can order the king? Moreover, when Qin Feiyang wanted to kill the king of the divine kingdom could and had the ability to save the king. But he didn't do anything during the whole process. Do you know what secrets are hidden in this? Long Chen asked with a smile. Don't keep us in suspense, just say it. The White-Eyed Wolf glared at him. Don't you know that I hate using my brain the most? If I'm not wrong, he was testing the king's loyalty to him. If the king changed his mind and wanted to reconcile with us, I'm afraid that we wouldn't have to do anything. The king of the divine kingdom would have killed him personally. Long Chen explained. It seems to make sense. I remember that the king of the divine kingdom only came to the rescue after the king expressed his stance. Madman nodded and muttered. Yes. So I'm guessing that the king of the divine kingdom was using this opportunity to test the king's loyalty. If the king really chose to reconcile with us, I'm afraid that not only the king, but even the purple gold divine dragon clan would be finished. Don't doubt his ability. As the king of the divine kingdom, it's too easy for him to wipe out the purple gold divine dragon clan. This is like Qin Feiyang. As the king of the Black Tortoise world, he only needs a thought to wipe out the creatures of the Black Tortoise world. Long Chen said. In that case, the king can still be persuaded? The White-Eyed Wolf was bewildered. If the king is really forced to do this, we can indeed win him over. After all, whether it's the king himself or the purple gold divine dragon clan's strength, they can't be underestimated. Long Chen nodded, then turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Brother Qin, do you see the same thing as me? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. This person's insight was truly terrifying. What he said was almost exactly the same as what he thought. The white-eyed wolf asked, "Brother, can we understand it this way? In the future, when we encounter the purple gold divine dragon clan, will we still have to show mercy?" "This, you'll have to ask Qin Feiyang. I don't care. If we kill them, then so be it." Long Chen chuckled. The white-eyed wolf turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "This is just our guess. Let's wait until we enter the Divine Kingdom and understand the real situation." "Enter the Divine Kingdom," Long Chen whispered and sighed, "I still feel that this is too risky. It's just like when we entered the Black Tortoise world. As long as you're willing, you can immediately find our whereabouts." The madman said, "Even so, didn't the king of the Divine Kingdom say that he won't interfere for 10,000 years? You dare to believe the promise of such a person?" Long Chen was speechless. "Even if he doesn't keep his word, we definitely have to go now. Your father gave us such a big problem. If we don't enter the Divine Kingdom, when can we open the seal and obtain the inheritance inside?" The white-eyed wolf was dissatisfied. Cough cough. "Can you not look at me with those resentful eyes? At first, I was also against it. But what can I do?" Long Chen smiled bitterly. After pondering for a while, he nodded and said, "Okay, I'll go with you. In any case, I have a life-saving trump card now. Even if the king of the Divine Kingdom chases after me, I won't lose my life." "Really?" The white-eyed wolf was surprised. What kind of life-saving trump card could be so powerful? "It's temporarily life-saving." Long Chen smiled mysteriously and said, "However, we really have to call the young man who pretended to be Qin Batian, because I have a feeling that this young man can solve our crisis in the Divine Kingdom. I've already talked to him, but he didn't seem very interested." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "If he doesn't go, then I'll think about it again." Long Chen said. "From what you said, if we can't convince him, you won't go, right?" The white-eyed wolf frowned. "You can say that." Long Chen nodded. No sense of brotherhood. The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly, his expression full of displeasure. "Whatever you say. Anyway, you have to know that it's impossible for us to sneak in without anyone noticing. Because the gate of the Divine Kingdom has its own consciousness. As long as we enter, it will definitely inform the king of the Divine Kingdom immediately. In other words, we only have one way, and that is to kill our way in openly." Long Chen said. "If we don't kill our way in openly, can it be called a counterattack?" Suddenly, a lazy voice sounded. A young man walked into the hall with sleepy eyes. "Why are you in our dragon nest?" Long Chen got up and looked at the young man in surprise. He didn't notice at all. "You have to know. The dragon nest had always had the enchantment of the god's sword. Who can stop me from going where I want to go?" The young man entered the hall and directly sat down on a chair, yawning. Qin Feiyang and the others were really speechless. However, this seemingly calm sentence caused them to be endlessly shocked in their hearts. "Who can stop me from going where I want to go?" Domineering. The white-eyed wolf asked, "Since you came to us, does that mean that you agree to go to the Divine Kingdom? Otherwise, why would I come to you? To drink tea with you? You're not young ladies." The young man looked at the white-eyed wolf with disdain. The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. But then, the four of them looked at each other with unconcealable joy on their faces. They really didn't expect this young man would take the initiative to come to them. The white-eyed wolf looked at Long Chen and laughed. "Little Chen, what do you say now?" "What else can I say? I can only accompany you to die." Long Chen smiled bitterly. The young man suddenly said, "Since you know that you're going to die, then say your last words in advance." Long Chen's face darkened. Why is he still a jinx? Can't he say something nice? The young man stood up and snatched the wine jar from the white-eyed wolf's hand. He turned and walked out of the door and said faintly, "Go while I'm in high spirits." "Go now?" Long Chen was stunned. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other in dismay. This was too hasty. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.